Chapter 673. Idiot. Such a small crab must have no meat to eat. Li Jianxian stared at the little crab and laughed at Li Jianyue mercilessly. The little guy's little face puffed up and shouted, "You are the idiot!" "I'm not, you are. I am not. Desu is. Ursu is. Desu is." The two children were bickering with each other. Li Mosen was playing with the little crab. He suddenly threw the crab in front of Li Jianyue, scaring the little guy and making her scream. She immediately forgot to bicker with Li Jianxian and excitedly snatched the little crab from Li Mosen. "Honey, come here," Li Siqing shouted from a distance. Su Qianxi heard and waved back. She turned around and asked the children to throw the crab away. She led the three children to put on their little shoes and walk toward the barbecue grill where Li Siqing was. Because it was Tuesday, there were not many people in the VIP area. There were other people barbecuing with their children on the barbecue grill next to them, but most of them were young couples. Seeing Su Qianxi, most of them had already recognized her. They couldn't help but look in the direction of Li Siqing. After seeing Li Siqing clearly, they all suddenly realized. Li Siqing chose the one on the edge, farthest from the crowd, the cleanest, the largest, and the best-equipped place. A transparent glass barrier separated this unique place. Opening the door, Su Qianxi found that the air conditioner was still on inside. The children went there and sat down. Su Qianxi took out the snacks and lunch that she had brought and put them on the table. The children ate the snacks and watched Li Siqing's elegant and slow barbecue. A small range hood on the top sucked away the smoke, and the coal on the barbecue grill was burning red. "Dad is so awesome," Li Jianyue yelled happily while eating the snacks. "Dad, I want to eat meat." "Okay." Li Siqing was barbecuing and adding seasoning. A pair of deep eyes were slightly curved. Through the barbecue grill, it looked even more eye-catching. Su Qianxi was slightly absent-minded. Li Siqing curled his lips and whispered, "Don't look at me." "I can't help it, Mrs. Li." Su Qianxi blushed and glared at him. She whispered, "The baby is still here. Don't teach him bad things." Hearing her words, he looked up at her innocently and asked, "Did I say something I shouldn't have?" Su Qianxi paused, thought about it, and was speechless. Her face turned even redder. She lowered her head and stopped talking, focusing on the bag of chips. The smile on Li Siqing's face widened. He handed the sausage to Su Qianxi and said, "Be careful, it's hot." Su Qianxi took it, put a clean paper plate on it, cut it into small pieces, and gave it to the children. "Be careful, it's hot." No one noticed that the harmonious scene inside had already been captured by someone. After Li Siqing was busy, the children were all full, and even Su Qianxi ate a bit too much. The family of 5 took a walk by the beach to digest their food. The 3 children ran around happily. Li Jianyue ran to find the little crab, but found that the little crab had already run away. The little guy touched the water with his bare feet, and from time to time, he took out some small shells and played with them. Chapter 674. Li Siqing and Su Qianxi sat on the edge of the beach, watching the children step on each other's shadows, chasing each other and laughing. The lively and happy laughter reached everyone's ears, and their mood became peaceful. The sun was setting, and the white clouds were dyed orange-red, so beautiful that it made people lose their minds. Su Qianxi looked at the top, where there were a few small clouds floating slowly, and suddenly became 5 human figures, 2 big and 3 small, one of which had 2 small braids. Su Qianxi excitedly patted the person next to her, pointed up, and said, "Look, don't they look like us?" Li Siqing held her waist with one hand and looked at the place she was pointing. His eyes softened, and he chuckled. "Yes, even God made a family portrait for us." "Yes, a family portrait. Hurry up and take a picture. Where's your phone?" Su Qianxi did not bring her bag, and she reached for his pocket. Li Siqing slightly flinched, and his sensitive throat tightened. Su Qianxi did not notice his strangeness at all. She picked up her cell phone and took a few pictures of the 5 little clouds. Li Siqing's phone was just bought yesterday, the latest model, with a particularly high resolution, and the fiery little clouds looked particularly good in the picture. Su Qianxi looked at it and smiled warmly. "Look, do you think it looks good?" "Yes." Li Siqing's eyes darkened, and he looked down at her, but he did not look at the phone from beginning to end. Su Qianxi set the picture as the desktop. Looking up, she saw his deep eyes, so deep, so deep. Seeing his gaze, Su Qianxi blushed and slightly shrank back. But Li Siqing moved faster. He reached out and clasped her head, lowering his head to kiss her fresh red lips. Li Siqing's kiss was very light, very soft, and had nothing to do with lust. It was just a passionate kiss. After the kiss, his voice was soft and magnetic. "Let's go home. It's late." Su Qianxi looked at the time. It was already past 6 p.m., and dinner time had long passed in the old house. Blushing, she got up and drove the children away from the beach. After cleaning their feet, she helped them put on their shoes, and the family of 5 went to dinner together. After dinner, they returned to the old house. The couple helped to bathe the children. After the bath, she held one, and he held 2. The 3 children were sent directly to bed. The children had been crazy all day and soon fell asleep. When they returned to the room, it was past 8 p.m. When Li Siqing was taking a shower in the bathroom, she received a call. It was Luo Zhan. "Hello, sister-in-law. Did you go to the beach today?" Hearing that, Su Qianxi felt a bit surprised. Sitting on the sofa, she chuckled. "How do you know? It's not just me. The entire Weibo knows about it. A lot of netizens are attacking you. Go online and take a look. You become a trending topic." "Punish me?" She felt strange. "Are you sure you didn't use the wrong word? What did I do to offend the heavens?" Chapter 675. "Okay, go ahead. I'll have a look." Su Qianxi quickly hung up the phone, opened her Weibo, and clicked on the hot topics. The first few were very popular stars. Su Qianxi scrolled down and saw her own photos. The title was striking. Happiness or selfishness? Female CEO agreed to the proposal of an infatuated man and then rekindled her love with her ex-husband. Seeing this title, Su Qianxi wanted to vomit blood. What the hell was this title? Infatuated man? Lu Yihan? Well, he was quite infatuated. However, at that time, she did not directly agree to Lu Yihan's proposal. But as Lu Yihan said, it became a bet. The last time she met Lu Yihan was when he gave her a note, which announced, "You won." After that, she never saw Lu Yihan again. Ex-husband? Only a divorced husband could be called an ex-husband, right? Feeling suffocated, Su Qianxi patiently looked at the person's document. After Su Ci, the female president of LS, agreed to the proposal of Qianli's president, Lu Yihan, her ex-husband returned, and all the previous vows were invalid. Today, she took her 3 sons to the beach of Kingstown with her ex-husband. With an ex-husband in front and a spare tire behind, she is so happy. **T. Su Qianxi was so angry that she almost smashed her phone. Was there anyone who could fabricate right and wrong like this? Such empty words had hundreds of thousands of likes and hundreds of thousands of replies. God damn it. Su Qianxi clicked on the first picture of the blogger screenshot. It was her Weibo post a few days ago, with only 4 words. "Bless me. Love." Below was an attached picture, roses, a diamond ring, and half of her and Lu Yihan's faces. The second picture was Lu Yihan's Weibo. It was not much different from the time she posted it, but it was the first time Su Qianxi had seen it. Lu Yihan, today I am too. 8 meters laugh. Laugh. The attached picture was a beautiful crystal long table with a delicate candlelight dinner on it. A ring and a bunch of roses were on it, but there were no people. It should have been taken before Su Qianxi arrived. There were not many likes and comments, even less than 1/10 of Su Qianxi's. There were 7 more photos below, all of which were secretly taken at the beach today. The children's faces and the couple's faces were not censored. They were posted just like that. Su Qianxi was so angry that her hands were shaking. She clicked on the comments, and there were indeed a lot of comments against her. Single dog plus 111. I knew it. I knew a female, so who couldn't be clean. I didn't expect her to be a 2-timer. Her Majesty Queen loves me 8. Awesome, sister word. Not only can you manage the company, but you can also manage men. Awesome. Lu Yihan's wife. I feel sorry for my Lu. If I hadn't been blind, how could I have fallen in love with her? Cry. At the same time, there were also many who spoke up for her. Modest My Sue, a mentally handicapped child seeking attention. Appraisal complete. Helpless. No money you rue all you. Is there something wrong with the blogger's brain? Ex-husband my ass. Li Siqing and Susu have never divorced. Okay? Hands up. So the legendary keyboard warrior is like you, inverting right and wrong. Lu Kai is the third son. Hands up. It's Lu San who keeps chasing after our Susu. Are you blaming our Susu for her charm? Her true love has been missing for 4 years, and Susu is sincere to him. Now she has returned in a high profile. Who will she choose? The blogger is retarded. Qianqian Suci 520. Picture comment. Blind people come here. There are pictures to prove the truth hands. Chapter 676. Su Qianxi was furious. She opened the new Weibo account and attached a photo taken with Li Siqing's cell phone today. 1. This is my personal emotional problem. My private life does not need to be explained to anyone other than my family. 2. Such actions not only infringe upon our rights of reputation and likeness, but also seriously fabricate facts out of thin air. Such actions constitute defamation. 3. I never let photos of my children appear in public places. I do not deny that I am a public figure, but my children are not. Please be sure to delete the photos. Otherwise, you will receive a letter from my lawyer. See you in court. 4. Li Siqing is my husband. I love him very much. I have never divorced him. There is no ex-husband at all. I will not think about divorce now or in the future. 5. The fire 4 years ago did not take away my husband. I have always believed that. Anyone who has been following me these years knows that. Now that he is back, can the rumors about my neurosis, paranoia, hallucinations, and schizophrenia, as well as the harm and speculation about me stop? Finally, thank you all for your attention and support. LS is with you. As soon as she sent the post, her phone kept ringing. The comments were all over the place. Amazing Qianqian, I am so handsome. At the end of the advertisement, I was shocked by it. Qianqian call Lao Shui. Cool. That's how it should be. Those idiots are completely irrational. A honest little cutie. Every time Su posts a photo with her children, she censors it. That idiot doesn't censor it at all. But the children are so cute, especially the girl. I want to kiss her. She is so cute. Brother is a bed says. That's how it should be. Why talk to an idiot? I'm a fan. Huan Quan. So what about the proposal? Avoid the important and dwell on the trivial. Su Qianxi scrolled through Weibo and found a new post in her circle of friends. Reading the content, Su Qianxi became silent. Lu Yihan, thank you for your attention. Qianqian and I are good friends. We have known each other for 13 years. I have always cherished this friend. Please don't make wild guesses. Acting cute, everyone who knows Qianqian knows what kind of person she is. She is very charming. This is beyond doubt. We have been like this for more than 10 years. Sending flowers is just to commemorate the 13th anniversary of knowing each other. The diamond ring means that our love is stronger than gold and more eternal than diamonds. Laughing, everyone is thinking too much. Qianqian Su Ci, hurry up and explain. You can't screw over your best friend like this. I'm so busy that I have to deal with this kind of sh*t. Play by yourself, or else I'll be confiscating your birthday present. Her heart ached slightly, and her eyes soon became hot. Li Siqing came out, drying his hair with a towel around his waist. Seeing her like this, he frowned. What's wrong? Su Qianxi shook her head and clicked on Lu Yihan's comment. Lu Yihan's wife, really? That's not what you said last time. Heartache, cry, goddess of the melon eaters, I see. Thinking I believe it. This person is dead. Go to die, oh my god, is that true? I knew Su would not say yes to you. It turned out to be a best friend. Applause, great. Qianqian Su Ci. Humph, if you dare to confiscate our Su's birthday present, I will not download your software. Bite me if you dare. Dash. Chapter 677. Many of Lu Yihan's comments were from Su Qianxi's fans. Su Qianxi reposted Lu Yihan's post and replied, Cry, don't do this to me. Do you know that you'll be hated like this? Their usernames were either related to Su, Qianxi, or LS, so they were easy to recognize. Su Qianxi looked up at Li Xiqing and said, "Honey, yes." Li Xiqing frowned and wiped away her tears. His eyes fell on her phone. Taking her phone and reading the comments, his face became colder and colder. Su Qianxi noticed his mood change and took the phone back. After locking the screen, she warned him, "Don't say anything. Lu Yihan has almost solved it for me. If something goes wrong again, you can try it." "I won't." Li Xiqing spread his hands and gently pushed her, coaxing, "Good girl, go take a shower first." Su Qianxi looked at him suspiciously with a warning look and then walked into the bathroom. After using Su Qianxi's phone to browse through Weibo, Li Xiqing's face became more and more gloomy. These keyboard warriors were so arrogant that they did not need to pay a price to criticize others. Li Xiqing's face darkened. Taking his phone, he downloaded Weibo and logged in. Then he began to edit the post. After about 10 minutes, he posted it. "Li Xiqing, it's been 4 years since I left. Fortunately, everything is still there. The bad guys did not succeed. The wedding I promised Mrs. Li 4 years ago did not happen. Welcome everyone. The time and place will be announced later. I am Li Xiqing." No pictures, no expressions, or even symbols. It couldn't be simpler, but those who knew him knew that it was Li Xiqing's style. As soon as Li Xiqing's post was posted, it was reposted faster than Li Xiqing had expected. Picking up Su Qianxi's phone, he found that the post she had just forwarded had tens of thousands of likes and more than 20,000 comments. Searching for his name, Li Xiqing used Su Qianxi's account to forward the post and typed a few words: "Hug, blow kiss, honey, I love you." Seeing these words, Li Xiqing's lips curled. Hearing the bathroom door was opened, Li Xiqing turned off the 2 phones and put them aside. She let her hair down and draped it over her shoulders. Seeing him like that, she felt a bit weird. Pulling at her robe, she went to pick up her phone, but he pulled her down on the bed with him. He turned over and pressed her under him, saying, "Playing on your phone at night is not good for your body and mind. Why don't we do some exercise to help you sleep and relax?" Su Qianxi blushed. In fact, she wasn't wearing anything under the bathrobe, but she didn't want to do that now. She pushed him away and reached for the phone on the bedside table. "I'm just taking a look. Don't look at that. Look at me." He untied the towel around his waist and kissed her shoulder. "Ugh, I'll go first." "Ah, what's the hurry, ugh?" Li Xiqing's big hand held her body and whispered in satisfaction, "You've grown a lot. You're even softer." Su Qianxi shrank her neck and blushed. She said, "It's always like this after giving birth." He untied her bathrobe, put his big hand on her butt, and said in a low, seductive voice, "Another one? Dash." Chapter 678. Not anymore. Su Qianxi looked at him and whispered, "We already have a son, a daughter, and an adopted son. Why do we need so many?" Li Xiqing heard that and smiled. Tapping her nose, he said, "I didn't take care of the children when they were young. How about having another one for me to try taking care of a child? Family planning, Mr. Li. Now with the reform, we can have more." As he spoke, he had already lowered his head and sucked on her lips. Gently rubbing and tasting, he put his lips on the corner of hers and whispered, "How about it?" Su Qianxi looked up at him with her dark and bright eyes. Suddenly, she laughed and said, 10 months of pregnancy. Can you bear it?" Hearing this, Li Xiqing frowned. Thinking of the hard days he had endured, he frowned and said, "What should I do? I didn't buy a condom. I didn't take the medicine either. Last night, they did not take any protection last night." Li Xiqing pursed his lips, his voice low and gentle, with a hint of temptation. "Then let nature take its course. If he comes, we can't avoid it." After saying that, the dense kisses had already landed lightly on her chin, brushing past her neck, gently sucking on her collarbone, sucking on her chest. His movements were gentle and sincere, like the most loyal believer, worshipping his only faith carefully and lovingly. Today, he was much gentler than last night. Obviously, he deliberately suppressed himself. Until the end, Su Qianxi felt very relaxed and fell into a deep sleep. Li Xiqing cleaned up and took the phone next to him. Under his Weibo, there were actually tens of thousands of comments. Clicking on it, he found that many people wished them well. I'm blind who should cooperate with you. It's been 4 years. It's hard for Su Qianxi to be alone. Fortunately, you are back. I hope you are happy, love. I'm trying not to beat you. Come back to life. I thought you were dead, you know? All kinds of news are reporting that you're dead, you know? Why don't you go home if you were alive? Hi. Did you lose your memory like what was written in Shaoyan? Car accident? Or did you save the world like Ultraman? No matter what, be nice to your wife. It's not easy for her. Despise. Invincible Thunderbolt Marshall 888. What? Wedding? Where is it? Can the audience go there? Hey, if you want to go, please like me. There were all kinds of comments, but seeing that no one was scolding her anymore, Li Siqing felt relieved. Taking Su Qianxi's cell phone, he opened the chat software and immediately saw a WeChat message from Lu Yihan. Don't pay attention to a lot of words on the internet. We know our own business. I wish you happiness. Second, we will always be good friends. Li Siqing looked at the message and sneered. Good friends? Did Lu Yihan think that he did not know how he felt about his wife? It was completely Sima Zhao's intention. Dason now refused to call him dad, mostly because of Lu Yihan. His eyes darkening, Li Siqing quickly typed on the keyboard and replied. She was so tired that she fell asleep. This is Li Siqing. Dash. Chapter 679. She was so tired that she fell asleep. It was Li Siqing who replied. There were only a dozen or so words in the reply. It was simple and straightforward. However, Lu Yihan looked at it for a long time and thought for a long time before he seemed to understand what the other party wanted to say. His handsome face became more and more gloomy. With a sneer, Lu Yihan's hand holding the phone tighter and tighter. The unwillingness in his heart made him feel a dull pain in his chest. All the suffocation turned into a strong force, and he smashed the phone at the door. The phone smashed into the door, leaving a mark on the sturdy wooden door. The phone fell to the ground and suddenly broke into pieces. Lu Yihan suddenly got up, went to the study, and took out the liquor that he had kept for a long time. White wine, and red wine were all taken out. A glass of white wine was poured down his stomach, and the burning feeling rushed up from his throat. However, the suffocation in his heart did not decrease, but became more and more intense. Not knowing whether it was because of the white wine or something else, Lu Yihan only felt a burning pain in his eyes, and a layer of mist suddenly condensed in front of his eyes. Li Siqing. After a few more glasses, the drunkenness rushed to his head, making his eyes even more painful and hot. She had already agreed to his proposal. As long as he was given a little more time, he could really take her home and announce that she was Lu Yihan's wife and belonged to him. But why did Li Siqing have to come back at this time? Why Li Siqing had been gone for so many years and died for so many years? Wouldn't it be better to just die outside? Why did he come back? Why did he come back to deprive him of the only happiness he had? It would be good to let him be happy for a few more days. The more Lu Yihan thought about it, the more ridiculous he felt. Leaning on the table, Lu Yihan held the glass and chuckled. However, the boiling hot liquid had already flowed down unknowingly, burning his heart. It was so fierce, so intense. Like a drop of highly concentrated sulfuric acid. When it fell, thick smoke rolled up, blinding his eyes and blurring his vision. Li Siqing was back, and she was very happy. In the photos on Weibo, the family of 5 was so harmonious. Her smile was so bright, with the radiance of happiness, so beautiful that it was intoxicating. For years ago, when Li Siqing was still alive, she also smiled like that. Only Li Siqing could give her a smile like that. Who was Lu Yihan? Staring at the white wall in front of him for a while, Lu Yihan's smile widened and he sneered, "Idiot." Throwing the glass away, Lu Yihan pried open the lid of the liquor and poured it directly into his mouth. The strong and choking liquid poured into his nose, causing him to cough loudly and tears to flow down his face. Headache, eye pain, but heart pain. In the end, she couldn't hold it in any longer. She leaned on the table and cried bitterly, just as Luo Zhan said. Since ancient times, no mistress had a good ending. Male mistresses are more hateful than female mistresses. He wanted to be that Shimin Qing, but his Qianqian was that Wang Baochuan, the Shui Pingue who had finally arrived after waiting bitterly. From the beginning to the end, he had never truly interfered between them. Countless facts had proved that Lu Yihan was just a joke. Chapter 680. Ridiculous, the liquor bottle was thrown hard, and the bottle fell to the ground with a loud sound, instantly breaking into pieces. Luo Zhan just took out the key outside and heard the loud sound inside, which made him shiver. Awesome, brother word. Luo Zhan silently swallowed his saliva outside. After opening the door, he saw the bodies of the wine bottles, wine glasses, and mobile phones lying on the ground. He clicked his tongue and then stepped in carefully for fear of being hit by something stupid. Li Xiqing was back. Some people were happy, while others were sad. Lu Yihan was undoubtedly one of the few people who were sad. Sighing in his heart, Luo Zhan had already expected Lu Yihan's reaction. He just did not expect Lu Yihan to be so angry that he smashed things. It shouldn't be, did Li Xiqing do something to him? With his years of understanding of Li Xiqing, Luo Zhan felt it was very possible. His sympathy for Lu Yihan was even deeper. Stepping away from the bodies on the ground, he went in and saw Lu Yihan wearing the clothes he had worn to work today, lying on the table. On the table, there were all kinds of bottles, all of which were the ones that Lu Yihan had collected in his study. F***CK. After collecting for so long, it's all gone just like that? Luo Zhan finally realized how much pain he was in. Seeing the wine that couldn't even be bought with money being wasted like this, he felt a pang in his heart. He silently picked up a few bottles and placed them on the wine rack in the study. After running around 3 times, he finally finished moving all the bottles. He reached out and touched Lu Yihan, but Lu Yihan did not move. Luo Zhan reached out to pull his hair up and found that his face had turned red. Seeming to notice that he was being lifted, Lu Yihan's eyes opened slightly. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked a little scary. Luo Zhan was shocked and suddenly felt sorry for him. Hey, since ancient times, too much love leads to regret. Luo Zhan helped him up and shouted, Hey, get up and go back to the room to sleep. Lu Yihan's eyes were overflowing with transparent liquid, and he held Luo Zhan's hand tightly with great strength. Luo Zhan was shocked and was about to say something when he heard him shout, Qian. Luo Zhan was dazed, but immediately felt annoyed and roared, Qian my ass. I'm your Uncle Luo. Qian why? Lu Yihan not only did not let go, but also reached out to hug him, buried her face in his waist, and burst into tears. Luo Zhan wanted to push him away, but after hearing his words, he couldn't bear it. Why? What's wrong with me? Why can't you see me? He's already dead. Why aren't you willing to accept me? If we got married earlier, you wouldn't have a chance. Qian, how tragic. He died a horrible death. Although Lu Yihan was also a computer nerd, he was very stubborn. Self-respecting, self-reliant, high EQ, high IQ, and extremely patient and persistent in dealing with people and matters. At such a young age, Qianlu had already enjoyed a certain level of fame in the country. But why did she fall in love with a married woman? Well, she wasn't married when he fell in love with her. But after so many years, why didn't he give up? Chapter 681. Yes, things like love were always hard to predict. Although Lu Yihan had known Su Qianxi for a long time, his pride was too strong. Because of his family's poor condition, he wanted to start a career first and then start a family. So he did not dare to confess his feelings to Su Qianxi. However, when he succeeded in his career, things had changed, and he was destined to be just a good friend with her. Hey, I sympathize with you. Luo Zhan patted him on the shoulder. Go back to sleep. Don't get drunk. Lu Yihan did not let go, holding his waist, breathing a little fast. Luo Zhan felt that he was so unlucky. He pulled him up, one hand under his armpit, the other around his waist, and dragged him into the room. However, Lu Yihan was a man of 185 pounds, strong and drunk. Luo Zhan alone was really a bit of stretch. After dragging for less than half the journey, Luo Zhan was directly exhausted. Unable to drag him, he simply threw him to the ground. Gasping, Luo Zhan also collapsed to the side. "Oh my God, why are you so heavy? You look so thin." Luo Zhan rested for a while with his hands on his hips and dragged him again. After a few minutes, he dragged him back into the room. Luo Zhan threw him on the bed and sat on the edge of the bed, panting like a dog. After a break, he went around to help him take off his shoes and socks. After that, he found that Lu Yihan was sweating all over and felt even more speechless. He found a remote control, turned on the air conditioner, and adjusted the temperature to 24 degrees. Then he threw the remote control away, closed the door, and left. After a busy day, he still had to deal with these things when he came back. Luo Zhan felt so tired. Cleaning up the glass fragments of the wine bottle, he put the broken phone away and pressed a few times. Well, it was directly disabled. Taking out the card, Luo Zhan put it aside. After cleaning up and taking a shower, Luo Zhan went to sleep. Just in the middle of the night, he was awakened by the sound of banging. Getting up with a start, Luo Zhan opened the door and ran out. This was originally a single apartment, with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room, and the bathroom was outside. The sound was coming from the bathroom. Luo Zhan walked in and found Lu Yihan lying in the transparent bathroom cubicle. The shower head was pouring water on him. His crooked suit was soaked through, and the situation didn't look good. Luo Zhan held his forehead and asked helplessly, "Brother, do you want to take a cold shower to calm down in the middle of the night? Can't you just give me some peace of mind?" As he spoke, he had already turned off the water. Li Xiqing reached out and pulled Lu Yihan. Lu Yihan shook off Li Xiqing's hand. His face was red, and his eyes were blurred. He stuttered, "I went to the bathroom, went the wrong way, damn. Why the F *CK did you pee in the toilet?" "Flush, Luo Zhan." Well, he must have thought of the bathroom as a toilet bowl. Lifting him up, Luo Zhan looked helpless. "It's too heavy. My God, how much do you actually weigh?" Lu Yihan was a little better than before. He got up by himself and put half of his arm on Luo Zhan's body. "Heavier than you, taller than you, stronger than you, you weak chicken." Luo Zhan was furious. He put him down and said angrily, "Go back yourself. I serve you, and you despised me. Why don't you go to heaven?" Dash. Chapter 682. Lu Yihan laughed, reached out, and grabbed Luo Zhan's pants. Luo Zhan was wearing pajama pants, which were big and elastic, and they were pulled down by Lu Yihan. "What are you doing? Are you a hooligan?" Luo Zhan kicked his hand angrily, quickly pulled his pants back, and shouted, "Do you know who I am?" Luo Zhan, Lu Yihan, said honestly. His cheeks were red, and his eyes were blurred. "No, I am your Uncle Luo." Luo Zhan looked like he was not worth teaching, and reached out to pull him up. "Let's go back to the room." Lu Yihan obediently got up, and as he walked, he reached out to unbutton his clothes. But his eyes were blurred, and after a long time, he couldn't even unbutton one. He stumbled, and his body swayed. Luo Zhan opened the door of his room, and Lu Yihan lowered his head to unbutton his clothes and unexpectedly hit the door. Bang! It was a huge sound. Luo Zhan had a headache. Turning around, he saw Lu Yihan covering his face and giggling. Turning around, he pulled his hand down and then saw that Lu Yihan's hand was full of blood, and near his nose and mouth there was red blood. "Damn! So hard! Ha 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 ha! What the hell? Ha ha!" Luo Zhan laughed mercilessly, almost going crazy. Lu Yihan's nose was bleeding, and seeing him laughing like this, he was not happy. He reached out and pushed him, a little unhappy. "What are you laughing at? Ha 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 ha!" Lu Yihan silently touched his nose and reached out to touch Luo Zhan's body. Luo Zhan very cleverly avoided a step back, and with a provocative look, he said, "Can't touch." But then Lu Yihan slammed the door in, and Luo Zhan only saw the light dim. And then there was a sharp pain in his crotch. Luo Zhan wailed, and tears burst out. Vaguely, he seemed to hear the sound of eggs breaking. He bent over, covered his penis, and curled up on the ground in pain, unable to say a word. Lu Yihan did not expect that his retaliatory action would cause such a result. Shocked, he stumbled forward. Lu Yihan saw him like that, and knew that the situation was not good. He asked, "Is it very painful? What do you think?" Luo Zhan covered his crotch with tears in his eyes. "I'm still a virgin. Why are you doing this to me? Let me see." Lu Yihan felt a little guilty. As he spoke, he reached out to take off his pants. Luo Zhan was horrified. He covered his crotch tightly and shook his head desperately. Although Lu Yihan was drunk, he still had some consciousness. At the same time, she was also quite strong. She forcefully pried his hands open, and then, without saying a word, she pulled down his pants. Luo Zhan felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He quickly got up and crawled outside. Lu Yihan was confused, but he didn't see anything. How could he let him run away? He stretched out his long hand and dragged Luo Zhan's ankle. Luo Zhan wailed, "No. Lu Yihan, even if you can't get my sister-in-law, don't mess with me. I'm not gay." Lu Yihan was speechless. He pulled him hard, and Luo Zhan directly fell to the ground, feeling pain. Then, Lu Yihan pulled hard and opened the door wide. With the light from outside, he opened his eyes wide and looked at the place where Luo Zhan had just hit. Dizzy, Lu Yihan couldn't see anything clearly. Chapter 683. Luo Zhan dragged his pants, turned around, and pushed him hard. His cheeks were slightly red, and he shouted angrily, "Go away! Drunk people should behave themselves." After that, he hurriedly got up and pulled his pants open to have a look. He deliberately found the place with the brightest light. After thinking for a long time, it seemed that there was nothing wrong with it, and it did not hurt as much as before. Looking back, Lu Yihan was half lying on the ground, and his nose was still bleeding. It was so miserable. Luo Zhan suddenly felt that he was an angel, a fairy. His heart was so kind. "I really owe you." He went forward to help him up, let him lean against the door, and went to find tissues. He grabbed a pack of tissues for him to wipe his face, and then went to find a pack of wet tissues from Lu Yihan. After wiping his face clean, he plugged his nostrils with the tissue. The nosebleed soon stopped. Luo Zhan helped him take out the tissue, patted his face, and growled, "Get up, go back to bed." Lu Yihan was half drunk and half awake. When he heard this, he wanted to get up, but his body was not strong enough. Before he could sit up straight, he fell back down again. Luo Zhan hurriedly held him and dragged him toward the inside. But Lu Yihan's body had been soaked by water, and he was soaked. With a heavy sigh, Luo Zhan reached out to unbutton him, took off his suit shirt, and then touched his pants. Oh my God, he was soaked. Unbuckling his belt, Luo Zhan unbuttoned his pants, and the straight and handsome pants were pulled down. Luo Zhan suddenly felt relaxed. "Humph, make me delicious food tomorrow, and I'll fry you up. Damn, I am so tired." Luo Zhan lifted his hands, carried him on his back, and quickly threw him on the bed, only a few steps away from the bed. Luo Zhan lay on top of him, deliberately pressed his body, and snorted, "Good. Make me delicious food tomorrow. Do you hear me?" After that, he threw his hands back, but at this time Lu Yihan's big hands not only did not leave, but also pulled him. Luo Zhan immediately fell down, and his body fell steadily on top of him. Don't go." Lu Yihan was half awake and shouted. Then he held Luo Zhan and rolled onto the bed. Luo Zhan's eyes widened, and inexplicably, his cheeks were slightly hot. But in the next second, as if struck by lightning, he struggled madly and shouted, Hey, 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 don't mess around, young man. How many times have I told you? I'm not gay. I'm not gay. I'm not gay." After pushing Lu Yihan away, Luo Zhan climbed up and felt that his face was burning. What the hell? Damn it, he's crazy. Luo Zhan was so angry that he stomped his feet. He turned around and kicked Lu Yihan's butt, which was only in his underwear. Pervert. Damn drunkard. Holy shit. After 4 or 5 kicks, Luo Zhan withdrew his foot, and Lu Yihan was kicked awake. He turned around and looked at Luo Zhan. His cheeks were red, and his eyes were also red. He was looking at him blankly, and had no idea what had happened. Luo Zhan felt guilty when he looked at him like that. He turned around, stomped his feet, and left, slamming the door, making a loud noise. Chapter 684. Luo Zhan went back to the room, fell on the bed, and looked up at the ceiling. It was already dawn, but Luo Zhan couldn't fall asleep. Thinking of the inexplicable feeling just now, Luo Zhan found a very, very serious problem. Could it be that the night was as dark as ink, and it was drizzling? This was a small affiliated village far away from downtown Kingstown. There were small old houses everywhere. In the village, there was a small restaurant in the east. Just a dozen meters away from the restaurant, there was a smelly and dark alley. There were a few tall garbage cans in it, and stray cats, stray dogs, and cat-sized mice were running around. A tall, slender figure was wrapped in tattered, dark-colored clothes. The clothes did not cover her body, revealing her deep cleavage. At the same time, there were also two long, white, and sexy thighs. However, her hair was messy like a bird's nest, forming a sharp contrast with her unusually fair and delicate skin. At this moment, she was squatting next to a garbage bag, turning over the fresh leftovers that the restaurant had just thrown out. It was already late at night, and the surroundings were dark. There were not many cameras on the roads in the village, and not many people would choose to go out at this time. After the restaurant owner closed the door, he looked around. After making sure that there was no one, he rubbed his hands covetously and walked into the alley. He had been paying attention to this woman for a long time. Her figure looked particularly good, and her skin was very good, but she looked a little crazy. It was estimated that she was the silly daughter of a rich man who got lost and wandered by herself. He didn't expect that he could find such a loophole. Rubbing his hands and walking in, the restaurant owner quickly found the woman he had been coveting for several days. He walked over and whispered, "Miss?" The person who was called turned back, and a pair of eyes looked particularly beautiful under the streetlight. The boss felt even more excited, and his eyes flashed with obvious covetousness. He said, "Do you need help? I see that you have been here for several days. Why don't I take you to a place to wash?" The woman did not speak. The boss tentatively reached out, gently put his hand on her hand, and pulled. The woman did not resist, and the boss was even happier. He whispered, "Where do you live? Do you want me to contact your family?" The woman shook her head as if she was extremely frightened. The boss was even more certain that this woman must be a fool. He joyfully pulled her up and tentatively pushed aside her messy hair that looked like a bird's nest. With the help of the street lights, the boss could clearly see her thighs, her big breasts, and all kinds of beautiful female symbols. He was drooling. Finally, his gaze landed on her face. The boss used his fingers to push her hair aside, and suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. The boss screamed and took a step back. In the next second, he tripped over a trash bag on the ground and fell on his butt. The boss was filled with fear. He looked at the woman in front of him and turned pale with fright. Under the woman's disheveled hair, there was a huge fire scar on her face. She looked ferocious and terrifying, so ugly that people couldn't help but run away. Chapter 685. The woman chuckled and walked towards the boss. Her long legs were full and smooth like jade, and her voice was as beautiful as a bell. However, her face had become a nightmarish existence. The restaurant owner screamed in horror and stepped back. He wanted to get up, but the woman had already pounced on him and pulled him over. Rumble. The muffled sound of thunder was suppressed, as if it was ringing in his ears. "Didn't you want to have sex with me? Why are you running now? I can do it. I am very clean." The voice was soft, and the woman's little hand had already touched the restaurant owner's face. The woman's voice was very soft and charming. It was not hard to imagine that before her face was disfigured, she must have been a great beauty. Lightning flashed. Combined with the streetlights, the restaurant owner clearly saw her whole face. He was shocked and lost his voice. "Aren't you Tang something?" Tang Minjing laughed. "You have a good memory." The stench of a homeless man made the restaurant owner nauseous. However, Tang Minjing had clearly noticed his intention. With a pair of murderous eyes, Tang Minjing pressed his head hard and stabbed the dagger hidden in her hand into his throat. As soon as the dagger went in, the bright red blood splashed. Because of the pain, the restaurant owner's pupils suddenly enlarged. He twisted and struggled crazily, his hands and feet twitching, trying to catch her, but soon she dodged. Tang Minjing stepped down and sank the dagger deeper into his throat. The restaurant owner twitched a few times, and then there was no more movement. His eyes were wide open, looking up at the dark sky covered with dark clouds. The fresh and bright look in his eyes became empty inch by inch. Tang Minjing loved this process. Holding his head up, she gently kissed his forehead and whispered, "Rest in peace." As soon as she finished speaking, she reached into his pocket. There was a wallet, a bunch of keys, and a pile of bills and receipts. Squeezing her fingers into the neck, Tang Minjing pulled out the dagger. Bright red blood spurted out and splashed on her body. The dagger was full of bright red blood. Tang Minjing wiped it on his body and put it away. Standing up, Tang Minjing dragged him by his legs and hid him behind a pile of trash cans inside the store. After dealing with everything, he leisurely walked out, opened the restaurant door with his key, locked it from the inside, and swaggered into the lounge of the restaurant. There were a few sets of middle-aged men's clothes, and they were very big. After taking a hot shower, Tang Minjing carefully washed her knotted hair and blew it dry before putting on the middle-aged man's clothes. White shirt and black trousers, very big. Fortunately, she had a belt. After fastening it, Tang Minjing went to the cashier and put all the money into her pocket. There were more than 2,000 in total, enough for her to get back to Kingstown. Then, it was time to find out. She put on a mask and went to the kitchen to find Chef's hat. Holding the umbrella, she went to the back of the alley, found her high heels, and left with the umbrella. The rain was getting heavier. The blood on the ground had already been washed away, leaving no trace behind. The figure went farther and farther. In the middle of the night in this small village, no one noticed anything wrong. In the boundless darkness, under the pitter-patter of the heavy rain, a voice quietly rippled out. "Li Siqing, I'm back." Chapter 686. Early in the morning, about 5 o'clock, the baby began to cry. Chengyu was in a daze and called, "Rong Rue." "Yeah." Rong Rue's voice sounded. Chengyu noticed that he quickly got up and went to the small crib next to her to pick up the baby. Chengyu heard that the baby was crying less and fell asleep holding the quilt. When she woke up again, it was already dawn. Chengyu rubbed her short hair and looked around. There were no children or men. After getting out of bed and washing, she opened the door and heard a female voice coming from outside. Chengyu was immediately alarmed and walked quickly to the living room. At a glance, she saw Su Qianxi holding her daughter. On the sofa, there was another man sitting. Before Chengyu could see clearly, she was pushed back by Rong Rue. Looking at her, she found that Rong Rue was looking at her with some reproach. He said, "Go get dressed. There is a guest." "Oh." Chengyu was wearing a thin negligee. Hearing that, she touched her nose and went back in. After changing clothes, Su Qianxi was playing with the baby. The little girl, who was more than a month old, looked at her with a pair of amber eyes, as if she had seen something novel. Looking sideways at the other side of the sofa, she saw a man sitting across from Rong Rue, wearing a straight and neat suit. His profile was angular, and his temperament was obviously softer than 4 years ago. Chengyu saw him, stared, and exclaimed excitedly, "Boss?" Hearing her voice, Li Siqing turned his head and looked over. His originally expressionless face still did not change. However, this was Li Siqing. It was really Li Siqing. Chengyu was shocked and immediately trotted over there, asking, "Who am I?" Seeing her like this, his dark and deep eyes became deeper. Slightly raising an eyebrow, he asked, "You are asking me? Oh my God, it's really you." Chengyu was so excited that her eyes were red. Standing on the edge of the sofa, she exclaimed, "The news in Weibo have been going crazy recently, but seeing it with my own eyes, it really feels like a dream. Boss, you are finally back." Rong Rue had never agreed to let her visit. The reason was that the old house of the Li family was too far away from them. She was so angry that she stamped her feet. Fortunately, they did not go yesterday, and today they came, which was far beyond her expectation. Li Siqing's eyes slightly curved as he asked, "I am back. Do you want to come back too?" Chengyu was dazed. What? Wasn't she here all the time? Li Siqing suddenly realized that his patience had improved a lot. He explained, "Come back and be my assistant. I'm not used to working with someone else." "Okay." Cheng Yu's eyes lit up, and she did not hesitate. "I am bored to death at home." "No," Rong Rue vetoed. "The child is only a month old. He hasn't weaned yet." "I didn't say I should go now." She said. "You." Li said, "Mom." More importantly, Rong Rue was basically doing laundry, changing diapers, feeding milk, and coaxing the baby. These things were all done by Rong Rue. If she took the work from him, he would be angry with her. As a result, she spent most of her time at home playing games, holding the baby, cooking, and occasionally coaxing men. She had nothing else to do. If she continued like this, she would grow hair. Everyone went to bed early. Chapter 687. Obviously, it was the life that all women wanted, but Chunyu felt that it was boring no matter how she lived it. It was at that time that she knew what everyone has his own ambition meant. "No." Rong Rue stopped her, looked at her across Li Siqing, and said, "I can still afford you. Don't go." "Oh, it's not a question of whether I can afford it or not. I have to find something to do. Otherwise, it will be too boring at home." Chunyu looked at him and pouted, a bit coquettishly. Rong Rue couldn't stand her look the most. Looking away, his tone was still firm. "I said no means no." Chunyu knew that in a short period of time, he would probably not agree. She simply stopped talking and would come back at night. Glaring at him unhappily, Chunyu quickly turned and walked to where Su Qianxi was, holding her daughter. Rong Rue made coffee for Li Siqing. The aroma of freshly ground coffee and the smoke were rising. The simple and exquisite coffee cup in his hand showed the taste of the owner. Li Siqing looked at the exquisite and beautiful cup in his hand and asked casually, "Do you know where they are?" Rong Rue was adding a piece of sugar to the coffee. Hearing Li Siqing's words, he slightly paused, gently stirred the coffee spoon, and raised an eyebrow. "Who?" "You know who I'm talking about." The voices of the two men were very low. Su Qianxi and Chunyu were playing with the baby. Although they knew that they were talking, neither of them paid attention to what they were talking about. Rong Rue took a sip of coffee and chuckled. "New coffee from Italy. The taste is not strong at the beginning, but strong at the end. Try it." Li Siqing suddenly smiled, took a sip of coffee, and nodded. "It's really good. Don't you want some sugar? I like plain coffee." Slowly putting down the coffee cup, Li Siqing looked at him with a faint smile. With a sharp look, he slowly said, "Tang Minjing also ran away." "I know." Rong Rue felt that it was not enough and added a little more milk. "But I have nothing to do with her for a long time. Even if you ask me, I don't know. I only ask them." They, of course, referred to them. Rong Rue knew very well who he was talking about. However, Rong Rue still looked calm. His amber eyes looked innocent as he shrugged. "I really don't know." The smile on Li Siqing's face widened. "Chunyu still doesn't know that those two guys are your relatives, right?" Rong Rue's eyes darkened, and he chuckled. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm just asking. Why are you so nervous?" Compared with Rong Rue's gloomy face, Li Siqing looked calm. He took a sip of coffee, elegant and noble, but inexplicably irritating. Rong Rue's face darkened. "I won't let her go back to work for you. She will come back." "No." Li Siqing squinted at him and said, "I know her better than you do. Li Siqing, you are even more annoying than before." His sinister and cunning skills had also reached the pinnacle. Thinking of the defeat of TL and the Bow Group, Rong Rue couldn't help but be impressed by this man, and he was even more afraid of him. However, this did not mean that he was friendly to him. Li Siqing raised his eyebrows. "You're not bad either." "Uffed." Rong Rue still wanted to say something, but Li Siqing had already turned his head, looked at Chunyu, and suggested, "Why don't we have dinner together?" By the way, as he spoke, he had already looked at Rong Rue with a deep and provocative look. "Let's talk." Rong Rue secretly gritted his teeth. Despicable. Dash. Chapter 688. Chunyu did not notice the strangeness of Rong Rue. Hearing Li Siqing's proposal, she felt a little surprised. However, holding the baby, she did not think much. She just glanced at Li Xiqing and happily said, "Okay, what do you want to eat? Just go to the place I used to like very much." Li Xiqing deliberately frowned, glanced at Rong Rue, and said, "What is it called?" "Deep Sea Hui," Cheng Yu quickly answered. When Rong Rue heard Cheng Yu's words, his face suddenly became gloomy. Li Xiqing quietly curled his lips and nodded. "Yes, that's it. Do you want to make an appointment first?" "Okay, come on, Su. Help me hold the baby. I'll go find a phone." Su Qianxi took the baby, and Cheng Yu quickly left, not noticing that her husband's face had become as dark as the bottom of a pot. When Cheng Yu entered the room, Li Xiqing suddenly chuckled, leaned on the sofa, and said slowly, "She has been with me for 3 years. It must have taken you a lot of effort to pursue her, right?" Rong Rue looked sullen and did not speak. Su Qianxi looked at these two men and vaguely felt that something was wrong. Just looking at the atmosphere between the two of them, she knew it was not very harmonious, but she did not know what had happened. Li Xiqing met her gaze, looked calm and indifferent, stood up, tidied up his clothes, and walked out of the sofa. "Let's go." Cheng Yu has already finished the phone call. Okay. Su Qianxi also had a deep understanding of Cheng Yu's efficiency, but such words fell into Rong Rue's ears, which was not very comfortable. Cheng Yu had a crush on Li Xiqing, which he knew very well, and she did not hide her admiration and worship for Li Xiqing. Rong Rue had no doubt that if Li Xiqing insisted, or a little provocation, Cheng Yu would definitely change sides. It was just a matter of time. Despicable. Sure enough, just a few minutes after Li Xiqing's voice fell, Cheng Yu had already come out with her bag and a mother's backpack. Directly throwing the mother's backpack to Rong Rue, she went to the utility room and pushed out a stroller. After wrapping the baby in, she said, "Let's go. I have already booked a seat." But when she turned her head, she found that Rong Rue's face became even more gloomy. She looked inexplicably and asked, "What's wrong?" "I'm fine." Rong Rue's face gradually returned to normal, but he still looked pale. He shook his head and said slowly, "Let's go." Today, Li Xiqing was driving his old modified sports car, which could not fit the stroller at all. After Cheng Yu took the car from the garage, the 4 adults and 1 child went to the restaurant where Cheng Yu had booked a seat. Neither of the 2 women had a big appetite, and Cheng Yu and Su Qianxi quickly talked about their mothers. Li Xiqing looked indifferent, eating slowly. Compared with Rong Rue, who looked tense, he was obviously much calmer. "Cheng Yu," he suddenly called. She held the baby and looked up. "Huh, you know Rong Rue's family?" Li Xiqing. Rong Rue interrupted him with a gloomy face. "Shall we go to your company later?" Li Xiqing raised an eyebrow and smiled. "Sure." Chapter 689. Our company. Cheng Yu had not removed her role from being the senior assistant of the Li family. After all, she had been there for 7 years. It was normal for her to have deep feelings for the Li family. However, it made Rong Rue even more upset. It was like his wife's heart was on another man's side, which was absolutely not a good feeling. He just cares about you and wants to make sure you are safe, right? Li Xiqing's voice was calm, and he took a sip of tea. Rong Rue chuckled and said, "Yes." Both Cheng Yu and Su Qianxi felt that these 2 people were a bit weird and looked at them strangely. The 2 looked at each other and saw confusion in each other's eyes. After dinner, Rong Rue drove the 2 women to the entrance of a large shopping mall of the Li group and sent them shopping. Then he drove away. Cheng Yu and Su Qianxi pushed the stroller into the mall and bought a lot of things. Just when they were sitting in a dessert shop, Su Qianxi saw a familiar face. A young man, fair and clean, with a thin face and pimples on his cheeks, wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, was sitting and chatting with a woman. The more Su Qianxi looked at the man, the more familiar she felt. Cheng Yu noticed where she was looking and said, "Do you know him? This person seems to be a relative of Tang Minjing's family. His surname is Liu. This person should be a doctor. Don't you have a classmate named Liu Ainen? She is this person's sister." "Doctor? Liu?" Su Qianxi immediately remembered and said, "Liu Quan? Yes, that's him. Why?" This person framed me. He lied to me, saying that I had AIDS, which scared me so much that I almost divorced Li Xiqing. Su Qianxi later thought about getting even with him, but after all kinds of things, she had forgotten about it over time. At this moment, seeing this Lu Quan, Su Qianxi could no longer hold back the violence that she had suppressed for a long time. Damn, no way. So unethical? Cheng Yu found it hard to believe. I heard that this guy got in because of his connections. Later, the Tang family lost, which seemed to have some impact, but now it seems that the impact is not big. Lu Quan was talking to the girl in front of him. He couldn't hear what they were saying, but from afar, he could tell that the girl was overjoyed. She couldn't stand it anymore. Wait a minute. With that, he got up and left. What do you want? No response. After about 10 minutes, she came back and sat in front of Cheng Yu. Where did you go? Show, watch the show. She took a sip of her drink and curled her lips. Not long after, a girl with exquisite makeup and a pair of sunglasses walked in aggressively. He walked up to Lu Quan, gasping for breath. Lu Quan and the girl opposite him were shocked. The girl in sunglasses slammed a stack of white paper on the table and shouted angrily, Lu Quan, you bastard! Lu Quan was stunned. Before he could react, the girl in sunglasses picked up the half-empty drink in front of the girl on the table and splashed it on his face. You're crazy! Lu Quan was so angry that he reached out to grab the girl. But the girl had already taken a big step back and shouted, Lu Quan, you're a doctor. Bah! As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and ran while crying. Chapter 690. After that, a lot of people in the dessert shop looked over. On the pregnancy report, there was a big pregnant confirmed sign. The girl stared at Lu Quan incredulously. Lu Quan saw his girlfriend's expression and knew something bad was going to happen. He quickly waved his hand and yelled, It's not me. I don't know her. That woman is a psycho. Baby. Before he finished, the girl slapped the report on his face and roared, If it's not you, then what is going on? Lu Quan was annoyed and yelled, Are you King psycho? I told you it's not me. This shout shocked even the passers-by and made them look inside. The girl's eyes were red from the yelling and soon noticed all kinds of strange looks around. How embarrassing. The girl stood up, clutching her bag. She picked up the coffee in front of him angrily. Puffed. She splashed the warm coffee on his face and walked away. Lu Quan was furious and reached out to pull the girl. However, the girl was agile and could be seen to be a martial artist. She turned around and kicked him with her stiletto heels. Then she threw her bag and kneed him in the lower abdomen, roaring, CK off, scumbag. Lu Quan covered his crotch and squatted down. His eyes were red and teary. Cheng Yu secretly clicked her tongue and whispered, You did this. She gestured for her to keep quiet and looked at Lu Quan with interest. Lu Quan covered his crotch, but soon paid the bill and limped away. Some people had already taken photos and posted them on Weibo. When the words Lu Quan and doctor were put together, it would definitely cause a sensation on Weibo, and Lu Quan would be found out. However, it was not enough. She picked up her phone and clicked on Luo Zhan's profile picture. She sent a message. Lu Quan, a doctor of infectious diseases, the son of the Lu family related to the Tang family. His sister, Lu Anan, helped me dig out all kinds of evidence about this family and this Lu Quan. I want to screw him up. Luo Zhan sent a horrified emoji and then a smirk. Z, you were in a good mood recently. Qinzi Su, no problem. Z, how did this person offend you? Qinzi Su, unscrupulous doctor with bad medical ethics. He lied to me and said I had AIDS. Although it was 4 years ago, I am still angry. Z, damn of course. Leave it to me. Qinzi Su, ask my husband to give you a raise of salary. Z, sister-in-law, I love you. Seeing Luo Zhan's message, Su Qinzi smiled and typed, Screenshot. That's not fair. You can't cheat me like this. She couldn't help laughing. She took a screenshot and sent it to him. When Li Xiqing received the news, he was in a nearby cafe. In the comfortable and elegant private room, there were only the two of them. Seeing her message, Li Xiqing glanced at it. His eyes softened slightly, and he put it aside without replying. Looking at Rong Rue, he asked slowly, Really? Of course. But you have to be careful. Tang Minjing has lost her mind. She's been seeing a psychiatrist all these years, and her face is ruined. As long as she is not dead, she will come back to you. Take care of your wife and children. Bring bodyguards. Dash. Chapter 691. You don't have to worry about that. Li Siqing stood up and looked down at him with a faint smile. Let's go. My wife is waiting for me to pick her up. Rong Rue also stood up and glanced at him contemptuously. Not only is my wife waiting, but I am also waiting. Oh, Li Siqing nodded. My children are waiting at home. After a pause, he added twins. Rong Rue pursed his lips in disdain and walked out first. Li Siqing said leisurely behind him, and an older son. Childish. Rong Rue was disdainful. What's there to compare? However, although he said so, he felt itchy in his heart. Li Siqing had 3 children, and he only had one. Why? No, he had to make a few more. He could not lose at the starting line. Rong Rue made up his mind and walked out. Li Siqing raised an eyebrow and felt inexplicably happy. Childish? It felt so good, okay? Rong Rue took the car at the entrance of the cafe, picked up his wife, children, and Su Qianxi, and finally went to the driver's seat. Unknowingly, he noticed that there were different gazes around him. Rong Rue had no other advantages, but he was very alert. Someone was following them. Looking around, Rong Rue whispered to Li Siqing, who was not far away. Someone is watching us. Do you feel it? Hearing that, Li Siqing just glanced at him leisurely, then opened the door of the passenger seat and calmly sat in. It seemed that he had known this scene for a long time. Rong Rue felt a bit incredulous. How could Li Siqing be so calm? Frowning, he suddenly thought of what Li Siqing had just said. You don't have to worry about that. So that was it. Rong Rue suddenly felt that he was still too naive and did not know this person well. Also, with this man's temperament, how could he not bring someone out in this situation? Chuckling, Rong Rue sat in the driver's seat and looked at Li Siqing with an extra layer of brilliance that Cheng Yu and Su Qianxi could not understand. After the rain, the air in Kingstown was mixed with the fragrance of soil and grass. More than 100 meters in front of the old house of the Li family, there was a small lake. Next to the small lake, there were tall trees, evergreen all year round. The small flowers and grass were fresh and beautiful. Today, there were 3 drawing boards and 3 small stools by the lake. There were 3 little fellows sitting on the small stools. At this moment, they were all sitting there methodically, holding crayons and drawing on the drawing board. 3 bodyguards stood around them, quiet and straight. The tutor was patrolling the surroundings while they were drawing. When she saw the mixed colors that Li Jianhua had drawn, she squatted down and asked, Ursu, tell me, what are you drawing? She pointed to a green line at the bottom of the white paper and said, This is the grass. She pointed to the blue lump in the middle. This is the lake. There is a dark green lump next to it and a brown one. This is the small tree. I haven't finished drawing the rest. I'll show you when I'm done. The tutor was amused and touched the little guy's head. You're amazing. Li Jianhua's little face was raised, and she looked a little proud. Then she turned her head to look at Li Jianxian beside her and shouted, Brother, look at my painting. Chapter 692. It was very simple, but it was many times better than Li Jianrui's. Li Jianxian glanced at his sister's painting and cast a contemptuous look. It's ugly. Yours is ugly. Li Jianrui was unhappy and turned to look at the other side. Brother Mosen, do you think my painting is good? Li Mosen was painting the lake. When he heard Li Jianrui's words, he turned his head and looked at it carefully. He nodded. Yes. Li Jianrui was immediately happy. She smiled and walked down from the stool with her little skirt. Her chubby little hand reached out and hugged Li Mosen's little head. She kissed him and said in a sweet voice, Brother Mosen is so nice. Little Mosen's white and tender skin suddenly showed a faint pink on his cheeks. Li Jianrui did not realize what kind of reaction her actions had brought to Li Mosen. She smiled and returned to the stool and sat down again. She took the crayon and began to draw. The tutor and the bodyguards laughed, and looked at Lee Mosen with ridicule in their eyes. Although Lee Mosen was young, he was already very sensible. When he met their eyes, his little face became redder, but he still pretended not to see it. He held a pink crayon and drew carefully on the edge of the small lake. The tutor found that he was drawing this little pink thing more seriously than when he was drawing other things. After looking at it, the tutor found that he wanted to draw a person with his lines. A little pink person? This little guy is drawing Lee Ursu? The tutor didn't say anything. He looked at it silently with a smile on his face. It was harmonious and peaceful on the edge of the small lake. No one noticed that on the other side of the small lake, a woman was looking at this side with a telescope. A pair of eyes, after looking around, fell on the little boy on the far left. Dark brown hair, white skin different from other Asians, a pair of blue eyes, staring at the front, looking very pink and jade, with an extremely serious expression. She actually adopted this child. That's easy, haha. As soon as he returned to the company, Li Xiqing took over all the loopholes and drawbacks that had accumulated in the past. Just like that, he was busy for a whole week. Oming said he would return to Kingstown in 3 or 4 days, but a whole week had passed, and Li Xiqing had not seen him. He called twice to ask, and Oming said, yes, yes, yes. But what could possibly happen? Even Oming didn't know what was going on. He had finished his work a long time ago, but he didn't want to go back to the capital, because he had found the only regret he had ever spoken of. 3 days ago, after signing the last contract, he had lunch with his partner and was ready to catch the afternoon flight back to Kingstown. For years, for 4 whole years, Oming hadn't seen his good brother again. Hearing his voice again after being dead for 4 years, it was impossible for Oming not to be excited. That was why the journey to the airport was so hurried. However, extreme joy begets sorrow. The driver, who was almost sent flying by his urging, accidentally hit someone when he turned a corner. The driver turned pale with fright. He quickly opened the door and got out of the car to check. It was a woman who had been knocked down. Chapter 693. The driver immediately went up and asked anxiously, Miss, are you okay?" The thing that was in the woman's hands had fallen to the ground. It was a laptop. It was the latest model of an internationally famous computer brand, worth more than 100,000 yuan. The woman's body was dirty, but she didn't have time to check herself at the moment. She quickly climbed to the computer. The body of the computer had a metal shell. At the moment, the body had been deformed. When it was opened, the screen inside had been broken. It looked very embarrassing. When the woman in the beige business suit saw the computer, her eyes were red and her voice was choked. "Computer, my computer, 120,000 yuan. What should I do now? It's not mine." The voice was urgent and fast. It penetrated the car window and fell directly into Oming's ears. His face, which was originally gloomy because of the delay, suddenly changed. He hadn't heard this voice for 4 years. Was it an illusion? Oming's body was tense, but for a moment, he forgot to react. In front, the driver glanced at the woman's body. There was not much damage, so he breathed a sigh of relief. However, when he heard the 120,000 yuan computer, he was also scared and his legs became weak. He shouted with some anger and guilt, 120,000 yuan? Girl, you are blackmailing me. Is this broken computer worth 120,000 yuan? The woman stood up and staggered. A large piece of flesh had been rubbed off from her knees and elbows. There was even sand deeply embedded in them, and the blood was not flowing. At first glance, it could be seen how hot it was. The woman was so angry that she picked up the computer and threw it at the driver. "What do you mean? You hit me and you don't want to pay? You hit my computer and you have to pay for it. I am in a hurry to use it now. Give me the same one now." Hearing this voice again, Oming was pulled back to reality. It's her, it's really her. Oming's heart suddenly beat faster. He opened the door and stepped out. The driver was still a little guilty, but when he heard the woman's tone, he immediately became angry and said, "You are a liar. You deliberately got hit here and then blackmailed me with a computer. Even those old men and women are not as ruthless as you." Lily still wanted to say something, but when she saw the tall man coming out of the car, her face suddenly changed. Even when she was hit by the car, Her face was not so ugly. It's him. It's him. Eulalie subconsciously took a step back. Her heart felt like it was being pulled by a string. In an instant, it almost broke through her skin and burst out her chest. For the past 4 years, the memories that he had deliberately tried not to recall suddenly poured out of his nest. Every image, every scene, outlined the 2 words that were deeply embedded in her soul. "Oh Ming, oh Ming." Eulalie looked at him in shock and wanted to escape. But that computer was a new one that her boss had just received. It had just been sent for testing and brought back. It was just a distance of a road away. Even if you beat her to death, she would never have imagined that a computer that was worth more than $100,000 would be wasted on such a short journey. What was worse was that she couldn't afford it at all. Chapter 694. When she said this, she did not dare to look in Ming's direction at all. Eulalie was panicking, but she pretended to be calm and shouted, "And the medical expenses. You must compensate me for the mental damage and the wages I lost when I was injured. Didn't you see the green light? Are you blind?" Eulalie was not polite. She reached out and asked for the money, which was equivalent to asking for the driver's life. Of course, he recognized the brand and the model. The lowest standard cost tens of thousands. For an ordinary working-class person, this number was equivalent to an astronomical figure. How could he afford to pay for it? Helplessly, he looked back at the car. Only then did he find that the distinguished person in the car had come down and was quietly watching everything that was happening in front of him. Ming stood behind the driver, with a pair of peach blossom eyes with a sharp edge, sweeping over her bloody hands and feet. The original white and tender skin was deeply embedded in the sand at the moment. The skin was obviously badly abraded, and, at the same time, it was like the same wound was rubbed on his heart. Unconsciously, he had already felt the same. Obviously, he had decided to forget this woman. As early as 4 years ago, when she plotted to kill his children, he should have completely cut off the relationship with this woman. In the past 4 years, Ming had deliberately refrained from checking her news, as if she had disappeared from the world. But he did not expect that she would be in the capital. Moreover, she was so close to him. It turned out that she had been nearby these days. It turned out that they had been so close these days. Thinking of this, Ming immediately had an indescribable feeling in his heart. "Master, oh this." The driver was speechless and looked confused. "I will send this lady to the hospital. You send the computer for inspection. After verification, find a company finance, and I will pay for it." After 4 years, Ming's voice was a little more mature than before. At the moment, his voice seemed a little cold. Compared with before, he was a little less charming and a little less sloppy. After 4 years, Ming was not the same as before. When Eulalie heard his voice, her eyes were hot, but she quickly reacted and roared, "What inspection? You can pay for it. I will go to the hospital myself." "Master, the plane." Ming looked at her indifferently. He looked at the driver and said slowly, "Didn't you hear me?" The driver trembled and nodded. He hurriedly picked up the broken computer. Eulalie's expression changed. "Wait." But Ming was the driver's boss. After hearing Ming's words, he didn't care about Eulalie at all. He took the computer and ran away. Eulalie's hands and feet hurt so badly that she stopped after a few steps. There were cars behind him, and all kinds of horns were honking. Ming acted as if he hadn't heard her. He stepped forward and couldn't help but put his hand on the part of her hand that wasn't injured. Without saying a word, he pulled her to the car. Eulalie's face was even paler, and she yelled, "Oh, don't touch me." But Ming didn't care. He yanked her and threw her into the front passenger seat. He quickly walked to the driver's seat and sat down. Chapter 695. Ming's face was more serious. He reached out and pulled her hard, pressing her on the seat. He closed the door, and without waiting for her to fasten the seatbelt, he started the car and rushed forward. Eulalie was caught off guard. She leaned forward and screamed with her hands on the airbag in front of her. She was still in shock. She turned her head angrily and roared with red eyes, "Ming!" In Ming's beautiful peach blossom eyes, there was an indescribable light. His heart, which had been empty for 4 years, was suddenly filled. The long-lost sense of fulfillment actually filled him up. Of course, the pleasure of revenge also continuously washed over him. Looking at what she was wearing, it was also very different from her previous style. There was no makeup on her face, her long hair was a little messy, her skin was a little dark yellow, and there were faint dark circles under her eyes. Her skin looked much worse than before. The style of the fabric was ugly, old and rustic, and the quality was very poor. Plus this pair of shoes, a set of clothes, would cost 500 yuan, or even lower. A 120,000 yuan computer was not as expensive as a bag he bought for her before. Seeing her so scared and anxious expression, Ming's heart flashed faintly. Seeing her so miserable, he was relieved. Look, even without her, he was still as carefree and unrestrained as ever, wandering among the flowers. Who can't live without him? It was just that she, Lily, was once again beaten back to her original state of being the treasure in his hands. You deserve it. Out of the blue, Ming laughed and sped up. Lily was a little scared by his laughter, and she was even more afraid. She pulled the seat belt over and buckled it, panting in shock. She knew him too well. Absolutely, can't fall into his hands. Lily's heart was beating very fast. She gritted her teeth, and her eyes were firm. The car stopped at the gate of the hospital. Lily immediately opened the door and jumped out, running toward the back. Just then, an empty taxi came over. Lily was like grabbing a life-saving straw, reaching out and waving. But when the car just stopped, Lily was lifted up by a big hand. Ming didn't say anything. He grabbed her with great strength and didn't show any tenderness. No, Ming. Lily was afraid. She knew him so well. Ming was angry, very angry. However, compared to when he was angry in the past, he was more ruthless, more cold, and more frightening. Lily squatted down, trying to use her weight to slow his footsteps and struggle free. Ming sensed her intentions and sneered. He simply bent over and carried her in his arms. My driver hit you. I should compensate you for your medical expenses. Miss you, please be quiet. Miss you. Those 3 cold words made Lily feel a dull pain in her heart. Since they first met 7 years ago, Ming had either called her Lily or Lily. These 3 unfamiliar words coming out of his mouth made her feel even worse than if he had directly scolded her. She was wrong. One mistake for 4 years. But it was too late. She knew that he hated her. He hated that she had killed his child, hated that she had trampled on his heart. The blood on Lily's body rubbed against Ming's, and the wound was burning. Then you can give me the money, and I will see it myself. How can you do that? Ming chuckled. What if you blackmail me? Don't forget that you have a criminal record, miss you. _busy as a dog. Chapter 696. Lily felt even more humiliated. She stared at him and roared. Why don't you just give me a few thousand yuan? You're such a big O group. Are you afraid of being blackmailed? I'm sorry. Ming strode into the hospital with her in his arms. He looked into the distance with a pair of beautiful peach eyes and said coldly, It's not easy to make money. I don't trust you. Lily was speechless. She was so angry that her chest hurt. Someone in the hospital recognized Ming and immediately opened the door for him. Ming was invited into the emergency room. He threw Lily on the bed. There was not the slightest bit of love or gentleness. Lily fell on the bed and hit the wound. She sobbed with tears in her eyes. Seeing this, Ming was expressionless. He coldly said to the doctor beside him, She was hit by a car. Give her a checkup. Yes, Master O. After that, despite Lily's slightly surprised objection, Ming sat straight at the door and folded his hands. His hands were still stained with her blood. Ming stared at her for a long time and suddenly felt ridiculous. How big of a deal? He even brought this woman to the hospital in person. He looked at his watch. It had been more than 40 minutes. He couldn't catch the plane. He actually didn't even hurry to see his brother in order to revenge a woman. When did Ming become so narrow-minded? Leaning on the back of the chair in the corridor, Ming slightly narrowed his eyes, and his mind was blank. Even he didn't know what he was doing. Fool! What was the difference between this Ming and the one 4 years ago? After the wound was treated and various examinations were done, Lily came out after it was confirmed that there was no big problem. But when she came out, Ming was gone. She asked the nurse on duty and found that Ming had already left. Before he left, he also left a large sum of money for medical expenses. After deducting the money used for Lily's examination, the rest of the money was more than 20,000 yuan, which was converted into cash and given to Lily. Lily looked at the 2 stacks of money in her hands and was in a trance. At the same time, her heart was also indescribably disappointed. Gone, just gone? How could this be? This man actually left just like that. Lily lowered her eyes and her head. Her big eyes were dim. He limped out of the hospital, took a taxi, and left. What she didn't see was that there was a black sedan parked not far from the entrance of the hospital. Ming held a cigarette between his long fingers. The smoke slowly lingered, and the smell of smoke filled the entire car. Leaning against the back of the chair, Ming looked lazy and casual. Ming watched helplessly as Lily left before he started the car and drove back. The assistant stayed in the capital because Ming didn't show up. After waiting for more than 2 hours at the airport, she received a call from Ming. I still have other things to do. I won't be returning to Kingstown for now. The assistant was puzzled. Is there anything else? Even if there's something else, could it be more important than seeing Li Xiqing? No way, right? Young Master O. The assistant wanted to say something, but before he could say it, he heard Ming say again, help me check a person who should be working near the famous garden in the capital. Okay, what's the name? Name. Chapter 697. When the assistant heard the name, he felt a little familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had heard it. Especially her financial situation, marriage status, private life status, and work situation. In short, all of them must be checked. The assistant understood and quickly asked, Master O, is there any other schedule that is particularly important? Do you need me to arrange anything? However, Ming did not answer, and the phone had been hung up. The assistant felt even more depressed. He deliberately opened the book and looked at Ming's schedule. It seemed like there wasn't any itinerary that was particularly important. Strange, however, Ming's mind was notoriously difficult to guess. If he guessed incorrectly, he might even make him unhappy. After thinking about it, the assistant decided to play dumb. Since he didn't answer the question, there must be a reason. When Ming wanted him to do something, he would ask, why should he ask so much? The assistant suddenly felt very witty, and then went to check the so-called Lily. Ming had a suite on the top floor of the capital branch. When he moved in again, many people were very surprised. However, no one dared to ask, and they left in a hurry after dealing with it. Ming lay on the bed, closed his eyes, and felt very tired. It had been 4 years, and he had lost too many things. The phone rang, and it was the assistant. Master O, I found out that Lily came to the capital 4 years ago and now works in the Electronic Science and Technology Department of Shengfeng Group. She's just an ordinary IT worker. 2 or 3 years ago, after renting a room with a girl for a year, she was cheated of all her money, and the loss reached more than 1 million yuan. In addition to her poor health, she spent a lot of money. She is currently single and lives alone. It seems that she used to work in Kingstown. According to her colleagues, this woman is likely to have had a miscarriage, and her physical condition is very poor. Cheated of all her money? When Ming was supporting her, he hardly gave her any money. Basically, Lily got whatever she wanted, and she didn't ask him for money. According to Ming's memory, the money she had received might not be as much as 1 million yuan. The loss reached more than 1 million yuan. That is to say, all her money had been cheated. So how did she survive? What about socially? She is very popular and has a high EQ. She always smiles when she meets people, but she also has a personality and is very straightforward. But because of this, her boss doesn't pay much attention to her. Now in Shengfeng, her annual salary is between 100,000 and 150,000 yuan. She is also responsible for some small things and doesn't have many big projects in hand. Yeah, Ming responded, and then he didn't say anything else. The assistant waited for a moment and realized that Ming wasn't going to say anything else. Then, he said, "If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. Help me check her address and send it to me." When the assistant heard this, he seemed to understand something. So, what was more important than seeing Li Siqing was picking up girls. TSK, a typical example of valuing a lover over a friend. Although he thought so, the assistant didn't have the guts to say it out loud. He answered honestly, yes. After Ming hung up, the driver called. Chapter 698. Yu Lily felt that she was so unlucky today. Not only was she targeted by Su Jing, but she also had to take the computer out of her busy schedule and was hit by a car. Not only that, but she also met Ming. Life was always like this. When people were unlucky, even a sip of cold water would get stuck in the teeth. Many parts of her body were wrapped in gauze, and she looked very embarrassed and miserable. When she returned to the company, the security guards all knew her. One of them had a good relationship with her. When he saw Yu Lily coming back, he quickly surrounded her and was shocked. "What happened to you? What the hell?" He actually fell to this state. Although he was already next to her, he did not dare to touch her at all. He opened his hand slightly and looked shocked. Yu Lily smiled brightly and waved her hand. "What's with your expression? Haven't you seen a car accident like me?" "No way. You want to help Sister Su get the computer and had a car accident?" "Hey, don't say it." Yu Lily looked like she could not bear to look back. "The computer is broken, directly broken, and the person has not paid me yet. Wait for me to go back first, and then I will tell you what happened." The security guard looked distressed. "Lily, you're like this. Don't go up. Sister Sue's temper is so bad, and she will certainly not stop scolding you because you're injured. Why don't you go down first, and I will go and talk to you?" "No, you do your thing. Go ahead." Yu Lily waved her hand and quickly walked in. But the smell of ointment was very eye-catching. Many people saw Yu Lily like this, and they would exclaim and ask, "Lily, what's wrong with you?" Along the way, Yu Lily smiled so much that her face was stiff. Finally, she arrived at Su Jing's office. She rang the doorbell and went in. Su Jing was scolding a newcomer with harsh words. Yu Lily had been in Shangfeng for less than a year. Su Jing was the head of the department, and she was famous for being a tigress. She would scold a newcomer without saying a word, and once scolded him until he resigned. Although Yu Lily was very popular in this department and was very popular among her colleagues, she couldn't let go of herself in front of this woman. The reason was just that she was beautiful. As a rich woman in her 30s, Su Jing was already married. At home, she was also a strong wife and a weak husband. Half a month ago, when her husband came to pick her up from work, he took a few glances at Yu Lily and was slapped by Su Jing in public. Since then, Su Jing had been picking on her in different ways. She was so scared that she didn't even dare to put on makeup anymore. However, Yu Lily's show of weakness did not make Su Jing restrain herself much. Instead, he was targeting her more and more. With a sigh, Yu Lily limped in and called out, "Sister Su." Su Jing turned to look at her. Seeing her like that, she said in a bitter voice, "Oh, isn't this the belle of our department, Yu Lily? What's wrong with you? How did you end up like this?" Sour. There was an indescribable jealousy in his tone. Yu Lily silently bowed her head and said, "I was hit by a car on the way back to get the computer." Su Jing was shocked, and her first reaction was to blurt out, "What about the computer?" Yu Lily felt a little uncomfortable. This woman, she didn't ask me if I was okay now, but her first reaction was like this. The computer was damaged by a car. Chapter 699. Such a voice was full of disdain and contempt. Moreover, Su Jing was still so provocative. Such a sharp tone was even more unbearable. Anyone who heard such words would not feel good, let alone a woman like Yu Lily. Yu Lily seemed to see something strange. She glanced at her and sneered, "Isn't it just 120,000 yuan? Any bag I take out is more expensive than your computer." Everyone in the company knew that Yu Lily had a lot of bags, and each of them was a luxury product, which was incompatible with her usual clothes. But with Yu Lily's usual temperament and aura, it was very suitable. At the beginning, everyone still complained, but over time, they got used to it. At the same time, such a situation also made many people very envious. Su Jing was one of them, but she couldn't afford it, and her husband couldn't afford it either. At this moment, hearing Lily's words, she immediately became angry and shouted, "What kind of attitude is this? What kind of attitude is this? You think you're great? I was hit like this. Are you fucking blind?" Lily's attitude angered Su Jing even more, and she roared, "I am your boss. It's normal to ask you to do something. It's because you're my boss that I help you do these things outside of work. This is your own personal computer, not the company's. You forced me to use my working time to get it, causing me to have a car accident. What about this account? It's funny. Do you have any evidence to prove that your car accident was caused by me?" Lily heard the words, raised her eyebrows, and sneered. "Do you have any evidence to prove that your computer was broken in my hands?" Su Jing was furious and shouted, "Is this the attitude you should have when talking to your boss? Boss, you're just a department head. Do you really think you're so great?" Lily looked at her coldly without any warmth. "When I was the director of the O Group's clothing store, you were still in some remote corner." Lily couldn't stand it. She was already angry, and in the past few years, she had been extremely unlucky. She was cheated of all her money by her good friend, and it was not easy to find a job with a decent income, but she met such a boss. Su Jing did not cross the line in the past, so Lily tolerated it. However, in the past half a month, Su Jing had become more and more outrageous and disgusting. Since she was going to be scolded anyway, she might as well avenge the people in the company. When Su Jing heard this, she laughed out loud. "What are you talking about? Oh, clan? Do you know what that place is? You haven't even finished your university studies, yet you want to be the director of the O Group? Ha! Lily dropped out of school when she was in her junior year, which was her eternal regret. At this moment, being brought up by Su Jing as a joke had undoubtedly stepped on Lily's sore spot. Lily looked at Su Jing coldly, and the temperature in her eyes was getting lower and lower. She sneered sympathetically and said, "No wonder your husband stared at me last time. It turns out that you look like a zombie when you smile. With your size 43 horse face, you need to use double hyaluronic acid, right?" Chapter 700. Lily was injured. When she stepped back, her wound was pulled and she felt a burning pain, but she quickly avoided it. Lily looked at Su Jing and sneered, "The zombie is angry. What do you want to do? Kill me?" Su Jing's face was even more ugly. She turned around and picked up the stapler on the table, smashing it toward Lily's face. Lily reached out to block it, and the stapler hit her hand, causing a sudden pain. Then, Su Jing rushed toward her and grabbed her hair. Lily felt more pain when she was pressed. When she looked at Su Jing's ferocious face, she was even more annoyed and shouted, "Are you King sick? Help!" The door of Su Jing's office was not closed, so people quickly ran in from outside. Everyone saw that they were fighting together and quickly came forward to pull them apart. Su Jing's movements were getting bigger and bigger, but Lily couldn't. She felt a burning pain in her body. She looked down and saw that some of the gauze was bleeding again. King retard. Lily clenched her teeth in pain and held her breath in her heart. She picked up a stapler on the ground and threw it towards Su Jing's face. The stapler landed firmly on Su Jing's chin with a dull thud. Su Jing screamed and covered her chin. She was in so much pain that she burst into tears and shouted, Lily, you bitch, you broke my new computer and hit me. Do you think that you can use the male colleagues in the company to stand on your side, just because you are beautiful?" People around heard this and looked at each other. "Everyone, help me get justice. Lily wants to keep my 120,000 yuan computer for herself. It took me a long time to save up money to buy it. It took me half a month to send it from the United States. I haven't used it yet, but it was stolen by her. She said it was a car accident. It is clear that she wants to steal my computer and make up a trick." The colleagues who had a good relationship with Lily all looked at Lily. One of them asked, "Lily, is it true?" Lily was so angry that she laughed. On her beautiful and delicate face, there was contempt and disdain. Yu Lily looked at Su Jing and asked, "How many kilograms of hyaluronic acid did you inject? Not only is your face big, but your skin is also so thick. If you remove the powder, you will probably have a natural hornet's nest." Su Jing couldn't stand it when others insulted her face. Especially when Yu Lily said all kinds of insults without a single dirty word. She was so angry that her body trembled. She was so excited that she was about to stand up. Su Jing almost rushed up to hit her, but soon she rolled her eyes and seemed to think of something. She sneered. "Yu Lily, do you know how long you will be sentenced for a crime worth 120,000 yuan? At least a few years. I originally wanted to give you a chance to repent and reflect. Ha! I didn't expect you to be so ungrateful. Then don't blame me for being impolite." Yu Lily, Su don't blame me for being rude. Either you compensate and settle it in private, or I will see you in court. A crime of more than 100,000 is enough for you to suffer. Su Jing stood there, looking domineering. She looked at her with hatred in her eyes. Yu Lily felt ridiculous. When she was about to say something, a security guard came in and said, "Yu Lily, someone is looking for you." Behind the security guard was a middle-aged man carrying a box. When the box was opened, it was a badly damaged laptop. Chapter 701. "Excuse me, which one of you is Miss Yu Lily?" "I am," Yu Lily responded. "I am the director of the distributor of this computer company. My surname is Wu. Just now, a gentleman sent this machine to our testing department for testing. After verifying the serial number and the internal information of the model, we found that this machine is a second-hand mobile phone we sold half a month ago, worth 48,888 yuan. But I heard that you asked the gentleman for the price of a brand-new machine, 120,000 yuan. The gentleman thought it was very unreasonable, so he entrusted me to verify it and report the situation to you." "Second-hand machine? More than 40,000 yuan?" Yu Lily was stunned, looked at Su Jing, and blurted out, "Didn't you say 120,000 yuan? Are you lying to me?" Su Jing's face suddenly changed, and she roared, "Nonsense! More than 40,000 yuan? I obviously bought it for 120,000 yuan. Now, it was broken by this woman, and I haven't used it a few times." The man's expression was a little strange, and he said, "Are you the original owner of this machine?" Su Jing's face changed slightly, but she quickly calmed down, nodded, and said, "Yes." The man took out a piece of paper from his pocket, opened it, and said, "Miss Su Jing, right?" Su Jing did not speak, looked at his hands that were opening the paper, and the original expression on her face suddenly changed. "This is the record list of your purchase from our company half a month ago, with your ID number and your autograph on it. The total price is 48,888 yuan. For the time being, there is no brand new model in our domestic branch. If necessary, it needs to be imported directly from the United States." Yu Lily opened her eyes wide, took the bill, and saw the name of the transaction, Su Jing, and the signature on it Yu Lily had seen countless times. Isn't it Su Jing's autograph? That is to say, this computer was actually purchased by Su Jing, and she lied to me. She wanted to cheat me of my money. Yu Lily saw it clearly and was furious. She held the paper, pointed to the autograph, and shouted, "Su Jing, how do you explain this?" Su Jing's face changed greatly, and she was speechless for a while. Everyone was speechless, and the way they looked at Su Jing had changed a lot. Just now, it was true that Yu Lily broke Su Jing's computer, and it was also true that Yu Lily had a car accident. Seeing Su Jing's angry look, everyone subconsciously thought that it was true. However, no one had expected such a sudden turn of events. What is going on? Just now, Su Jing said that she wanted to let Yu Lily go to jail, but now, Yu Lily became the victim. What? It turns out that she wants to cheat money. Isn't Sister Su very rich? Why would she want to cheat Lily's money? Hey, I'm afraid it's not as simple as cheating money. She just said that Yu Lily stole her computer, which is worth more than 100,000 yuan. She will be sentenced for a long time. What's the big deal now? Su Jing herself has become a fraud, and the evidence is conclusive. Chapter 702. And the person who came to deliver the computer, after seeing such a scene, took out a thick yellow envelope from his satchel and said, "This is the compensation that the gentleman just gave you. It is 50,000 yuan in total. Please count it." Then he handed it to Eulili. Eulili was so angry that she grabbed the envelope and saw the 5 dozen bills in it at a glance. After counting out 1,100 yuan, she threw the rest to Su Jing and said, "I will compensate you, but there's a lot of debt between us. Now there are witnesses and material evidence. Everyone knows that you want to cheat me. The amount of fraud is as high as 100,000 yuan. Sister Su, do you know how to sentence you?" Su Jing's face became more ugly and suddenly became as pale as paper. Seeing this, Eulili's smile on her face became more bright, and she said, "What? Weren't you very arrogant just now? Why are you so quiet now? Didn't you say you were going to sue me?" "Sue me, Su Jing. It's okay to be a bad person, but it's not good to be so blatant, right?" Obviously, Eulili was more arrogant and domineering than before. The sudden changes of the situation, one after another, made Su Jing unable to guard against it. Originally, she wanted to use this second-hand computer to frame Eulili, saying that she had stolen her computer parts so that she could be charged with theft. Just now, when he heard that she had broken the computer, he was even more surprised. Wasn't this coquettish fox arrogant? She would send her to prison and see how she could be arrogant. But she would never have thought that Eulili had a helper. Such a helper was actually able to directly invite the dealer over and expose her plan in front of everyone, causing Su Jing to lose all her face. This slap on the face was so painful that it was burning. Originally, she thought that the victory was in her grasp, but it was reversed in an instant. This made Su Jing, who had always been independent and had a sense of superiority, unable to accept it at all. Her face suddenly became serious, and she said, "How can you prove that this computer is mine?" The person from the dealer hadn't left yet. Hearing Su Jing's words, he immediately said, "We have the data records of the hard disk and CPU inside, as well as the matching serial numbers and codes. If you don't think this is your computer, we can check the system. It's very difficult to fake." Su Jing was speechless, and her expression turned even uglier. While she was speaking, she heard Eulili's voice. Everyone looked over and saw that she was on the phone. After she reported the address, she said, "There's a supervisor in the computer department named Su Jing. Only then did everyone realize that Eulili was calling the police. No one had expected Eulili to be so straightforward, including Su Jing. Su Jing's first reaction was to pounce over and shout, "Bitch, what are you doing?" Eulili was injured. At the same time, because of Su Jing's sudden attack, she was not prepared at all. Being pounced on like this, he staggered and took a small step back. However, because of this, the phone also fell to the ground, and the interface displayed the 3 numbers 110. Just looking at it made people feel shocked. Su Jing picked up the phone and said, "It's okay. I'm sorry." Chapter 703. Su Jing roared, "What do you want?" "I want to call the police." "Didn't you see it?" Eulili spread her hands and looked innocent. "But the phone was hung up by you. You made me have to call again. It's not appropriate for you to do this." Su Jing gritted her teeth and said, "Eulili, hey, what's wrong?" Eulili smiled, which made Su Jing tremble with anger. Su Jing calmed down, took a deep breath, and said, "Let's settle this in private. What do you want?" Eulili sneered and looked at her coldly. "I don't want anything. I just want to call the police and sue you for malicious fraud. Don't go too far. How much money do you want? Tell me." Eulili ignored her words and continued to say, "As for other things, such as you use working hours to invest in stocks, force the people under you to do personal things during working hours, and then forced us to work overtime, and so on. Everyone knows about these things, but you are so good at hiding it from the higher-ups. The higher-ups don't know about it yet. Now that the boss knows about it, I'm afraid he can't agree with your character. Can he? Right, Mr. Li?" While talking, he looked at the door behind Su Jing. When Su Jing heard that, her face suddenly changed. She turned her head and saw the big boss, Mr. Li, standing behind her. His middle-aged fat face was very ugly. Mr. Li came in and looked at Su Jing's face, which was so ugly that it was almost sweating. He shouted wildly, "What the hell is going on? Everyone is gathered here. Don't you need to work? Don't you need to work?" The strong smell of ointment on Lily's body and the bleeding wound wrapped in gauze were very eye-catching. Mr. Li saw Lily's clothes and asked, What's the matter?" Lily gave a brief account of what had happened, but when it came to Su Jing's actions, she added a lot of embellishment. Several times, Su Jing wanted to interrupt, but Lily did not give her a chance to do so. Mr. Li also deterred Su Jing with his eyes, so that she could not say a word. In the end, Lily was a little thirsty. She shrugged and spread her hands. "If you don't believe me, you can ask them. Everyone on the scene is my witness. There is no doubt about Su Jing's ability, but her character is really intolerable. Mr. Li, I advise you to consider replacing her. Didn't you find that this department changes people very frequently? It has a lot to do with this woman, but because this woman is your wife's cousin, no one dares to say anything." When Chief Li heard that, he got even angrier. Work is work. Relationship is relationship. Do you think I promoted her because of her relationship? Isn't it? Lily spread her hands again, looking helpless. Someone nudged her, hinting for her to keep quiet. But Lily smiled and said, "I don't want to work here anyway. I know you won't fire her. Working for this kind of person is simply asking for trouble. Mr. Li, I quit." Lily was speechless. Lily's straightforward words made everyone in the room secretly applaud in their hearts. But in front of Chief Li and Su Jing, everyone did not dare to be obvious. Chief Li's face became more ugly. When he was about to say something, Lily said, "However, it is a fact that Su Jing wanted to cheat me. If you want to settle it privately, I don't want money. I just want Su Jing to apologize to me. Otherwise, I can only give her a taste of her own medicine." Dash. Chapter 704. Apologize? Apologize to this bitch? Su Jing looked strange and said sarcastically, "Do you think I don't know that you now owe a lot of debt? You have no money and you have to live like a princess. Who can stand you? You poor ghost. How much money do you want? Just tell me directly." Lily sneered and said, "I want your husband. You should give him to me. Don't pretend to be rich. Apologize to me." When Su Jing heard that, she was even more furious and rushed in the direction of Lily. The people around were all shocked and rushed forward to stop her. Lily stood in the same place and looked at her mobile phone lying quietly on the ground not far behind Su Jing. She turned around, walked to Su Jing's desk, picked up the phone, and turned on speaker. After pressing 2 numbers, Su Jing's face changed and shouted, "How dare you? Do you want to see if I dare?" Lily pressed the last number, put the microphone next to her ear, and raised her eyebrows provocatively. "Apologize." "No." Mr. Li was afraid. He went forward to take Lily's phone and hung up directly. He looked at Su Jing and shouted, "Apologize." Su Jing was shocked and couldn't believe it. "Brother-in-law, you were in the wrong in the first place, so you should apologize. Didn't you see how badly Xiao Yu was hurt because of your computer? What if there are scars all over a girl's body, and the computer has been compensated to you? You should apologize to her." Su Jing was obviously not convinced. She looked at Mr. Li and said unwillingly, "I don't want to." Hearing this, Mr. Li's face darkened and he warned, "Do you really want to go to jail?" "Go to jail? Who would want to go to jail?" But Su Jing was not reconciled. Not reconciled, not reconciled. "Why should I apologize to this bitch who seduces people everywhere?" Since she came, almost all the people in the company were around her, no matter men or women. Relying on the tricks of a fox, she pretended to be a bitch. She was not reconciled, and she just couldn't see her doing well. "Either you apologize, or I'll call the police." As she spoke, she picked up the phone and teased, "It's just going to jail. Sister Su isn't afraid, right?" Manager Li's face also darkened. "Su Jing, do you really think I don't know what you're doing in the dark? Do you really want me to tell you everything?" Su Jing felt even more humiliated. Not only were her colleagues and subordinates not on her side, but even her brother-in-law did not support her. "Why? What's so good about you, Lily? Su Jing was so angry that her eyes turned red and tears welled up in an instant. However, under manager Lee's warning gaze, she still lowered her head and whispered, "I'm sorry." "What?" "I didn't hear anything." Lily was still holding the microphone in her hand. She put one hand next to her ear to make a trumpet. "Can you say that again?" Su Jing was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. She calmed down and said in a serious voice, "I'm sorry." Chapter 705. Lily's provocative words made many people at the scene laugh, and they were secretly happy. But the boss was here, and Su Jing was also in front of them. Except for Lily, no one else dared to smile. Lily's attitude made Su Jing almost mad, and she roared, "Don't go too far." Lily seemed to be scared, and she turned her head sideways with a look of disgust. Lily seemed to be frightened. She turned her head sideways with a look of disgust, but she quickly turned her head back and said, "Look, isn't it quite loud? I really didn't hear what you just said. My ears are not very good. Why don't you just speak like you used to? Why do you have to pretend to be gentle?" "I'm sorry." Su Jing roared, and her eyes were about to crack, and she looked terrible. Lily looked scared, patted her chest, and said with a frightened face, "If you don't want to, then don't. Why do you have to scare people? Don't you know that people can be scared to death? What the F***CK? You not only cheat, but also want to kill people." While talking, Lily had picked up the phone again. Lily turned on the speaker and pressed 2 numbers. Almost everyone could hear it clearly. Su Jing took a deep breath and said quickly, "I'm sorry, Lily, I shouldn't have framed you. I shouldn't have targeted you. Please forgive me." Lily just pressed the 3rd number, and before it was connected, she hung up. Looking at Su Jing, Lily smiled slightly and raised her eyebrows. "Are you sincere?" Su Jing wanted to kill her, but at this time, she still nodded against her conscience. "Sincere. Go, you're so fake." Lily sneered, "But I am a generous person, and I will forgive you." After that, she looked at Mr. Lee. "Mr. Lee, I don't want to work anymore. Please let me go. I can't do work with my injuries." Mr. Lee quickly said, I know you have a grudge against the company. Now I announce that Su Jing will be fired." When such a voice fell, everyone was shocked. "What? Fire Su Jing?" People around looked at each other and couldn't believe it. Even Su Jing herself had not expected such an outcome. "No, brother-in-law." However, before Su Jing's voice had finished, she had been interrupted by Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee looked at Lily and said in a high voice, "Little you, stay at home and recuperate. Don't worry about the company. I will give you half a month to adjust your vacation. When you come back, you will be the head of this department. What do you think?" Such a result was undoubtedly dropping a heavy bomb on Su Jing once again. Su Jing stood dumbfounded on the spot. She turned pale with fright and shouted, "Brother-in-law, how can you do this?" Mr. Lee ignored her directly and looked at Xiao Zhang of the HR department and said, "Go through the resignation procedures for Su Jing. Such a person will cause public anger in the company. It's better to ask her to leave early." After a pause, he looked at Su Jing and said, "Don't you want a child? You always complain about being busy with work. Now I'll give you this time to have a child and raise the child. Adjust yourself well and get ready to have a child." Chapter 706. Why not? The company is mine. I can keep whoever I want. Mr. Lee's face darkened. "Also, didn't I tell you not to call me brother-in-law in the company? It's not good." Mr. Lee's heartlessness not only made Su Jing feel disheartened, but also Lily herself was confused. "What's going on? Mr. Lee wants to keep me, but not Su Jing? Su Jing, who has been a supervisor for several years, is fired? Is this for real?" Lily felt like she was dreaming. She had done that and provoked him, but he still gave her a promotion. It was like seeing a ghost. Lily was dumbfounded, but the others were already cheering. Lily is a supervisor? Damn, if Lily can't be a supervisor, who can be a supervisor? Don't forget who helped you with the case in CG Village. Yes, in the case of Wanli Technology. Damn, if it weren't for her, I would have been killed by Su Jing. Ah, you have all been helped. I thought I was the only one who got benefits. I was wondering if Lily was secretly in love with me. Bah, you think too much. Lily is a goddess. Do you know what goddess is? She can only be seen from a distance and not played with. The discussion around her sounded, and Lily continued to be in a state of confusion. Su Jing protested and shouted, "How can you do this? Who is Lily? Can she lead this department well? Brother-in-law, don't be fooled by her beauty. That's right. You mean, I only look at her appearance and not at her ability?" Mr. Li's face darkened. "If that's the case, you would have been fired long ago. Do you think I will keep you in the company for so long? Do you really think I don't know what you are doing in secret? Su Jing, don't blame me for offending you." Su Jing was stunned when she heard that. Mr. Li ignored her, looked at Lily and said, "Xiao Yu, you go back first. Come back after a while. It will not be good if there are scars on your body." Lily suddenly came to her senses and stammered, "Mr. Li, are you serious?" "Of course." Mr. Li's expression softened a little. "I've seen your ability. The report you wrote a few days ago was very good. I believe you can do it. Also, you seem to be very popular. Keep it up in the future." Only then did Lily completely recover. Her face was full of joy, and her heart was inexplicably touched. With Su Jing at the top, Lily hadn't gotten any big projects, and she hadn't had any opportunities to stand out. She thought she could only show off in front of her colleagues. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Lily nodded excitedly and shouted in a loud voice, "Definitely." Mr. Li nodded in satisfaction. "Go back first. I'll ask the driver to send you." "No need. I can go back by myself." "Yes, you can go downstairs. I'll ask the driver to wait for you at the door." Lily was too lazy to take a taxi, so she nodded and said, "Thank you, Mr. Li." Mr. Li's eyes were even more curved, flashing a trace of strange light that no one noticed. Then he pressed the elevator and went upstairs again. Chapter 707. Among them, the one who was the most upset should be Su Jing. When Su Jing heard the cheers of the crowd, she was full of disbelief. Especially when she saw that they were so happy and proud. She was even more angry. With a scream, Su Jing rushed in the direction of Lily and shouted, "Bitch, you must have used some bad means. You must have slept with him. Otherwise, how could you be promoted? There are many people more qualified than you. Anyone can be promoted, but why you?" The voice was fierce, and the expression was terrible. Lily's colleagues, who had a good relationship with her, immediately stood in front of her and protected her. Two male colleagues grabbed Su Jing from both sides. Su Jing was even more angry and shouted, "I heard that you used to be the mistress of a rich second generation. Later, you were abandoned by the rich second generation because you couldn't have children. You must be very happy to be a mistress for so many years. Bah, now you actually use this kind of dirty means to deal with my brother-in-law. Lily, you're so disgusting, bitch." Su Jing's words sounded so convincing as if they were the truth. When Lily heard it, her face slowly sank. How did Su Jing know this kind of thing? She obviously didn't tell anyone. However, with the previous record, the credibility of Su Jing's words had been greatly reduced. How could the colleagues around her believe Su Jing's words? Hearing Su Jing's words, someone said sarcastically, "Why, a beautiful woman must be a mistress of a rich second generation. That's right. A woman like you can only raise a useless old pervert, an old gigolo." "Huh? Yes, you're ugly and you blame others who are beautiful. What the hell?" When Su Jing announced that she was fired, this group of people felt very proud. At this time, there was such an opportunity to hit Su Jing. How could they not seize it? "It's true," Su Jing shouted angrily. Lily, this woman, how clean do you think she is? She was just a whore who would sleep with a man for money. I really don't know what you like about this kind of person, this kind of bitch." "Huh?" Lily chuckled and deliberately made a charming look. However, when combined with the injuries all over his body, it looked very awkward no matter how one looked at it. Lily winked at Su Jing and said, "If you are beautiful, you can sell your body. As for someone like you, I don't think anyone would want you even if you sold your body. Hey, whether I sell it or not has nothing to do with you. If you have the time, why don't you save some money for plastic surgery? As he spoke, he looked at her sympathetically and said, "Why don't I help you a little? Here's 1,000 yuan. Here, take one." He crumpled the bill and threw it at Su Jing. This kind of naked humiliation caused Su Jing to tremble with anger. It's not enough? There's nothing I can do. I don't have any left. This is all I have. I still need to heal. Hey, why don't you ask someone else for some? Beg. What kind of person would ask someone for money? Lily's words were undoubtedly lethal to a woman like Su Jing, who had always prided herself on being a wealthy woman. Being held back by 2 male colleagues, Su Jing felt like she was suffering from internal injuries. Chapter 708. When she went downstairs, she found that Mr. Li's driver was already waiting for her downstairs. After being sent home, Lily took out the key and opened the door. This was a relatively old community, the rent was relatively cheap, and the community environment was safe, so Lily had lived here for 2 years. The door was a relatively thick security door, and when she opened it, she saw a small living room. This was a single apartment with 1 bedroom and 1 living room, but there was only a small sofa in it, and there was not even a TV. Not far from the sofa was a small computer desk with a notebook on it, and behind it was a small table for eating. After putting these things, there was only a walking path. The kitchen and the toilet were connected, and the total area was less than 3 square meters. But the decoration was very beautiful and clean, very leisurely and modest. Lily stretched, took out the medicine from her bag, put it on the small table, and then walked into the room. Just as she opened the door, Lily immediately froze in place. In the room, there was a single bed, a wardrobe, a bookshelf, and a wall full of photos. However, these were very familiar furnishings, not enough to cause Lily to be shocked. What made Lily freeze in place was the uninvited guest in front of her. On the single bed that should have been clean and tidy, there was a man lying on it. The man was tall and lying on the bed at the moment. He seemed to have fallen asleep, but at this moment, he noticed Lily coming in and opened his eyes. His dark brown eyes were tired and sleepy, and his peach blossom eyes were blurred. He looked at Lily, but she couldn't see his emotions. Lily was stunned, and soon her face changed. Subconsciously, she looked at the wall full of photos. The photo wall was full of photos of her and Oming. In addition to the group photos, there were also photos of Oming. All the photo frames were hung up, and the wall opposite the bed was densely hung. Lily's heart suddenly jumped, and she had the feeling of a runaway child caught by an adult. She was embarrassed and guilty, but at the same time, she couldn't help but feel happy. The man on the bed lifted the quilt, got out of bed, and slowly sat on the edge of the bed, looking at her with a pair of eyes. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Lily stood at the door and stared at him for a long time before she opened her mouth and asked, "Why are you here?" When Oming heard that, his lips curled into a smile, but he didn't say anything. He slowly took out a cigarette from his pocket and lit it up. Then he looked up at her, and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. There was a strong sense of sarcasm and self-deprecation in his smile. There was also an indescribable feeling. Lily looked at his smile and felt her heart ache. "What are you laughing at? What's so funny?" Lily wanted to ask him, but she saw him take out a notebook from under the quilt. Seeing the cover of the notebook, Lily was shocked and subconsciously looked at the photo wall. Under was a desk. There should have been a notebook on the desk. That was the notebook she used to draw on. Now it was empty. Oming just flashed the notebook, and Lily's face became even paler. Chapter 709. The strength was so great that the photo frame on it suddenly fell down. The sound of breaking was deafening in this narrow room. Oming took a long step and walked in front of Lily. His lips were curved with an evil and contemptuous smile. His pair of peach blossom eyes were slightly narrowed. He looked at her face and exhaled a long puff of smoke. Then he pushed her hard, without pity, past her, and strode away. From beginning to end, he didn't say a word. Lily's eyes were red and slightly painful. This kind of pain fiercely pulled the scar on her heart that had been faintly painful for 4 years. But in the past 4 years, it had never been so painful. Enduring the pain, she stepped on the glass on the ground to pick up the book. On the book, there were broken glass shards, which suddenly pierced in her fingers, making her feel painful. She opened the book, and one of the pages inside impressively had a horizontal label. On it was a picture of a woman holding a dagger in her hand, and she personally stabbed it into her stomach. Below, there was blood. Next to it was the words, "I am pregnant with Ming's child, but I don't want to keep it. What should I do?" "Then don't keep it." I went out to buy medicine, and the doctor said to take it for 3 days. On the second day, I broke up with him. I don't want to be with him. This kind of man is not someone I can handle at all. He is too abnormal, too dictatorial, too F***ing. I want to be free. Let's go, you Lily. The next day, he didn't agree with her proposal to break up. She was angry and quarreled with him. At first, Ming just coldly warned her, but in the end, he pressed her on the bed, and you Lily's stomach hit the edge of the bed. At that time, he pressed her down and put his knee on her stomach, warning her and noticing her abnormality. Later, he found that she was bleeding. A lot of blood. At that time, Ming was scared and stunned. What was you Lily like at that time? She held her stomach, and her face was blue and white with pain, but when she saw him like that, she inexplicably had a kind of revenge pleasure. For 3 years, she had been kept by him for 3 years. In those 3 years, many people outside knew that she was Ming's girlfriend, and, at the same time, many people knew that she was kept by him. A kept woman. What a disgusting word. Because of these 2 words, she received a lot of supercilious looks. He could finally be free. You Lily was bleeding at that time, and her body was already covered in cold sweat. His face was pale, but he let out an extremely cruel laugh. Such laughter was not only cruel to Ming, but even you Lily herself had never imagined that she could laugh like that. "Ming, do you know? I'm pregnant." Ming was stunned. He looked at the large pool of blood below her and was at a loss of what to do. "Your child has been squashed to death by you. Are you happy?" Happy. She didn't know if Ming would be happy, but she herself wasn't as happy as she had imagined. On the contrary, there was an indescribable sadness. Her child, her first child, how magical. There was actually a small life inside her body. But now, for the sake of her so-called freedom, she was going to eradicate this little life. She cried and laughed at the same time. Looking at Ming, she fainted from the pain. When he woke up, he was in the middle of surgery. The doctor said there were 2 gestational sacs. Chapter 710. The smoke rose slowly, with a light smell of tobacco, and the whole car was a bit depressed. Ming sat in the car, with an ashtray in front of him. There were already 4 or 5 cigarette butts in the ashtray. Looking at the dark sky ahead, Ming's mood was indescribably empty. Just in the afternoon, when he just saw the photos on the wall, he thought. However, it was just what he thought. Shock, anger, and unspeakable sorrow. It turned out that his children were not killed by himself. However, this fact was more hurtful than you Lily's words in the past. How much hatred did he have to kill his first child, his own pair of twins? How much did he hate him that he didn't even want his own children? She had been with him for 3 years. 3 years. Even a dog would have feelings, let alone a person. Ming looked at the sky in the distance, and in his dark brown eyes, there was only indifference. Putting out the cigarette, Ming started the car and slowly drove on the road. From now on, the original Ming was completely dead. After Li Xiqing took over the company's affairs, the company's performance was much better than before. So much that Su Qianxi was proud, but also indescribably frustrated. She thought that she had done a good job. Looking at the quarterly report in her hand, Su Qianxi felt a bit of a headache. The children were running around in the living room, chasing each other and playing until they were all sweaty. Su Qianxi put the document back and looked at the time. It was almost 6 o'clock. She raised her voice and said, "Quiet down and rest. Come and sit for 10 minutes." Li Jianrui, chased after Li Mosen with a smile, suddenly stopped and shouted, "123, "Blockhead, don't talk and don't move." Li Mosin and Li Jianxian stopped at once. Both of them were panting, but they really didn't move. Li Jianxian still maintained a running posture, and Li Mosin looked like he wanted to speak. Such a strange scene. Su Qianxi couldn't help laughing and shouted, "The password is invalid." Li Mosin and Li Jianxian suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, trotted over to the sofa where Su Qianxi was, and sat down. Li Jianhua stuck out her tongue and ran towards Su Qianxi. She shouted, "Mom, why isn't Dad home yet?" Su Qianxi poked her nose and said, "Girls are not allowed to talk with their tongues out. Be normal." "Can a boy do it?" Li Jianxian asked. "Boys can't do it either. You have to learn from your parents and be more normal. Understand?" "But Uncle Luo Zhan is also like this when he talks to Dad." Li Mosin looked puzzled. "Why can adults do it but not children?" Hearing that, Su Qianxi paused and quickly said, "Uncle Luo is not a boy or a girl. He is a man, so he can make such a joke. You children should not learn bad things, understand?" Oh, the children didn't really understand. Anyway, the result was that Uncle Luo was a bad example. Li Jianhua widened her big round eyes, which were dark and bright. She asked again, "Mommy, when is Daddy coming back?" Chapter 711. Yes, the little girl held Su Qianxi's leg and looked at her with a smile. Her big black eyes were full of sparkling light. She asked, "Dad's birthday, will there be a cake?" Su Qianxi smiled and picked her up. "I have asked your dad to bring you a cake." Su Qianxi's words made the children's eyes light up, especially Li Jinrui, who cheered and shouted, "I want strawberry flavor. What should I do?" "I bought chocolate flavor." A voice came from afar, and Li Xiqing walked in slowly from the outside. He was tall, and compared with more than half a month ago, he looked much better than before. When he first came back, Li Xiqing was too thin. Li Jinrui heard Li Xiqing's words, and her eyes lit up. She ran in the direction of Li Xiqing and shouted, "Dad!" Her short legs were running fast, and she ran in the direction of Li Xiqing, hugging his thigh. "Dad, hug!" Li Xiqing held a big cake in one hand and held the little girl in the other. "Did you listen to the teacher today?" "Yes." "Kiss Dad." Li Jianhua reached out and hugged Li Xiqing's face. Li Xiqing's lips curled into a smile. "Happy birthday, Dad." Li Jinrui put one hand on Li Xiqing's shoulder and said with a smile, but her eyes couldn't help looking down at the cake in Li Xiqing's hand. "Dad, can I see the cake?" Li Xiqing laughed and gently knocked her forehead with his and said, "Eat first, and then you can eat the cake." "Okay." Li Jinrui cheered happily. "Then let's eat quickly." Li Mosin also walked over a little weakly and said, "Uncle, happy birthday." Lu Sa just came out and said, "It's time to eat. Go and tell Grandpa and Grandma to eat." "Happy birthday." Li Jianxian shouted with a red face and went to the kitchen to wash his hands. Su Qianxi walked to Li Mosin, put her soft hand on his head, and said softly, "Don't call me uncle, call me Dad." Li Mosin heard that and was stunned. He looked up at Su Qianxi, thinking that he had heard wrong. Su Qianxi looked at him, stroked his dark brown hair, and said, "Call me Mom, don't call me Auntie." Li Mosin's fair and tender skin blushed when he heard that. Li Mosin nodded his head vigorously. With a look of surprise on his face, he shouted, "Mom, Daddy, happy birthday to Dad." She had him look in Li Xiqing's direction. Li Mosin turned to look at Li Xiqing excitedly and shouted in a loud voice, "Dad, happy birthday." Li Xiqing's eyes softened as he handed the cake to Su Qianxi. He bent down and picked up his son. "Thank you, son. This is the best birthday present I've ever received." Son. Li Mosin felt like he was dreaming. He reached out and hugged Li Xiqing, laughing happily. "Dad, happy birthday." Li Xiqing's smile widened as he walked toward the dining room with the little guy in his arms. "Let's go eat." Li Jianxian watched from afar and felt inexplicably uncomfortable. This was his father, not Li Mosin's father. Mosin was not even a child of the Li family. Why did he have to call him father before him? He hadn't called him father yet. "Thank you, son. This is the best birthday present I've ever received." Chapter 712. After dinner, the family gathered together. Su Qianxi led the children to sing the birthday song to Li Xiqing, and the smile on Li Xiqing's face became bigger and bigger. Just before the birthday song was finished, she heard the doorbell ring. Su Qianxi went to the door, opened the door, and saw Ming, who looked a little travel-worn. With surprise in her eyes, Su Qianxi invited him in and shouted, "Honey, Ming is here." Ming? Li Xiqing was also a little surprised. Just after the children's birthday song, Ming appeared in Li Xiqing's vision at the same time. Ming was holding the specialties of the capital, a bottle of wine, and a box of something unknown, but it looked very high-end. At this moment, seeing Li Xiqing, he handed everything to Li Xiqing. Ming saw him, chuckled, and his eyes were slightly red. The two men looked at each other and smiled. Immediately, they went forward and hugged each other. Hard, hard, hard. But it was not the kind of enthusiasm for women. Their hug was full of pride and domineering. Li Xiqing, you are finally back. Ming reached out and patted his back, his face full of emotion, and his eyes were slightly red. Li Xiqing heard that and laughed. He directly punched Ming's lower abdomen and said with a little anger, "You really have the nerve to say that. I have been waiting for you for half a month, and you lie to me every day." Ming laughed at the same time, pushed him away, and gently punched him on the shoulder. "Aren't you back now? I also brought you a birthday gift, the limited edition watch you have always wanted. It's for you." Li Xiqing heard that, chuckled, turned to look at the three little guys behind him, and said, "Call Uncle O." "Hello, Uncle O." The three little guys spoke at the same time, especially Li Jinrui, whose sweet voice was out of place with the two boys. At this moment, she did not look up, looked at the cake in front of her, pouted, and shouted, "Dad, come and blow out the candles. You see, the candles are almost falling into the cake, and we can't eat it later." Li Jianhua wasn't very old, but she was as smart as her brother. She was very eloquent with words. Furthermore, she watched TV shows with Old Master Li and Qin Shuhua every day. She had learned most of the things that she shouldn't have learned. At this moment, what the little guy said made Li Xiqing smile. "You help Dad." "No, I have to make a wish first before I can blow out the candles, and you have to blow it yourself, otherwise the wish won't come true." Li Xiqing pretended to look surprised and asked, "Really?" Seeing Li Xiqing's expression, the little guy was convinced. He nodded with a serious face and said, "Of course it's true. Dad, come on. If the candle falls, the wish won't come true. You obviously want to eat cake." Li Jianxian unceremoniously undermined him with a look of disdain. Li Jianhua blushed and puffed up her cheeks. She said, "I didn't." "Brother Mosin, am I that kind of person?" Li Mosin shook his head. "No. Humph. The audience's eyes are sharp." Li Jianhua made a face at Li Jianxian, then turned her head and continued to urge, "Hurry up, Dad." The little girl, who was less than 4 years old, called her father with a sweet voice. Ming was full of envy when he heard it. Looking at Li Xiqing, he couldn't help but feel sad like a tide. Chapter 713. If his children were still alive, how old would they be now? Were they 2 boys or 2 girls? Or, like Li Xiqing, a boy and a girl? Ming's mood swings had never been obvious, but this time, Li Xiqing clearly sensed his envy. Li Xiqing's eyes darkened, and he gently patted Ming on the shoulder. "Wait for me." Then, he coaxed the children and said, "Coming, coming." Walking over, he pretended to make a wish and then blew out the candles. Li Xiqing took a long time to pull out the 31 candles. Under the children's eyes, he cut the cake. The children all cheered and shouted in unison, "Happy birthday!" Li Xiqing cut the cake, and Su Qianxi helped him. He distributed the cake to the children and looked up at Ming. "Come here, take a piece." Ming chuckled, walked over, and sat down on the sofa. The elders were all behind. Captain Li looked at Ming and said, "Xiao Ming, you are not married yet? Do you have a girlfriend?" Ming smiled and shook his head slowly. "No, you don't plan to find one, not for the time being." Ming smiled, took the cake from Li Xiqing, and handed it to Captain Li. Grandpa, eat the cake. Captain Lee took the cake and asked with a smile, "Your father won't rush you. Aren't you in a hurry?" "Well, I told him to focus on his career first. His career has been very successful. You see, your O group has been like a rocket in recent years. Isn't that enough? A man still needs a family. Only when he has a family can he have a better career." "Grandpa, why are you so interested in his relationship?" Li Siqing glanced at the old man and handed another piece of cake to Ming. "If you are free, help me take care of the children. I have something to say to Ming." Captain Li stared at him, a little angry, and said, "You little brat, now you think your grandfather is long-winded? Hey, forget it. I can't care about you. Go." Ming put down the cake, said goodbye to Captain Li, and followed Li Siqing out the door. However, not long after Li Siqing left, Li Jianxian suddenly put down the half-eaten cake in his hand. His white cheeks blushed as he ran after him and shouted, "Dad, wait a minute." Li Siqing was dazed, paused, and looked behind him. A short and small figure ran over. Although he was young, his body proportions were excellent. Her black curly hair fluttered in the wind. Looking at Li Siqing, she blushed even more. Li Siqing looked down at him, his eyes deeper, with a meaning that Li Jianxian could not understand at all. "What did you call me?" The little fellow's face turned even redder, and he weakly called out, "Daddy." Li Siqing's eyes became softer. His eyes curved slightly as he looked at Li Jianxian. "Yeah, I also want to give you a birthday present." "What present?" Li Siqing smiled and took 2 steps closer, his eyes shining with surprise. Although the little fellow did not understand, he knew that his father must be happy at this time. "You are too tall. Squat down a little." Li Siqing heard and squatted down. Li Jianxian went up and imitated Li Jianhua. He held Li Siqing's head with both hands and kissed him on the cheek. Then he turned around and ran, shouting, "Happy birthday, Dad." Li Siqing's eyes lit up. Dashed that you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.